Thank you. Welcome to the Greenfield City Council, October 20th, 2021, 222nd regular meeting at 6:30 WebEx conferencing system. Okay, this meeting is being recorded and videotaped by the City Council in GCTV 15. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Madam Chair, can I have a roll call of members?
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Jarvis,
Here.
Counselor Gwynn,
Here.
Counselor Disorder,
Here.
Counselor Bottomley,
Here.
Counselor Dolan, I will come back to him. Vice President Gilmore.
Here.
Counselor Wheeler notified us earlier today that he has a work commitment, so he will not be attending this evening. I see Counselor Dolan,
Right.
Counselor Mayo,
Here.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Here.
Counselor Elmer,
Here.
Counselor Forgy,
Here.
President Ricketts,
Here.
Counselor Stemple Ray. Counselor Stemple Ray.
Okay.
I will keep an eye. I don't see that she's logged in so far. Madam President, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start with,
Original letter might give you some ideas on what to say. That's about the bear.
is somebody talking?
Yes. If you enter the meeting, could you please mute your microphone? Thank you.
And the people from the public, if you wish to speak, if you can put your name and address in the chat box, and please stay muted until you're called on. So, full disclosure, I believe I'm on day 3 of what I'm hoping is only a sinus infection. So I'm going to hang as long as I can. Councilor Gilmore will be reading the page 40 for me. I just want everybody just to be on their toes and let's listen up and move along. Again, I'm going to stay for as long as I can handle it. All right? So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which is totally voluntary. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
And justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the September 22nd City Council meeting minutes.
So moved, Disorder.
Seconded, Gwen.
Ayo.
Perfect. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Again, anyone from the public wishing to speak, please put your name and address in the chat box and keep your devices muted. At this time, I'd like to get communications from the superintendent and schools and school committee.
Evening, President Ricketts and Vice President Gilmore. I know Christine is here and ready to go, and I will give it right over to her.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for having us. I apologize for my background. I'm on the move this evening, so thank you for tolerating that. Very happy to share some excitement that's been happening in the schools. We had a successful homecoming dance at Greenfield High School the weekend of Indigenous Peoples Day. We had 2 successful open houses at Greenfield Middle School and Greenfield High School, and we are preparing for the parent-teacher conferences at our elementary schools toward the end of October. So looking forward to that. We are also beginning preparations for our full day of professional development, which will be on 2nd, which is always a day that is appreciated by the staff. One of the other things that we're extremely pleased that you may have seen at the most recent school committee meeting is that 2 new positions have been able to be added into the district. As all of you likely know, but I will just remind with a quick recap that, COVID-19 was a traumatic incident for all of us, our students absolutely included in that. And some of the signs and the symptoms of having had a trauma include a lot of the issues that we are all seeing and expected to see, but we are seeing in our students across all grade levels, including sleeping and eating disturbances, irritability, anger issues, focusing issues, which makes challenging to learn, anxiety, some behavioral changes in students, and loss of skills, not just academic, which we all anticipated, but also their social skills, interaction, ability to handle stress, and their ability to persevere through challenges. So, for many of our students, this trauma was added on top of other challenges that they have and had already in their lives before the pandemic. So, the new positions, a stipend position for a restorative practice facilitator, and then a director of behavioral services, have been added to our supports for staff and students and families to help us support our students as they work through the signs and symptoms of having experienced that trauma. Some of the things that they will help us with, which we'll also be working on during our professional development, is helping to reinforce the routines and expectations. We do start every academic year with that, but in this situation of dealing with trauma, we're finding that it's going to be helpful to do what we're calling a reset with our students and basically coming back to some of those start of year expectations and routines to remind them of what it's like to be full-time students with typical academic expectations in place. We will also be talking about the fact that we're seeing unexpected things from our students. Students that maybe had always been quiet may now be acting out, or students who were very socially engaged may be withdrawn. So we need to recognize the signs that our students are struggling and to identify and provide safe and supportive adults, which we strive to do. There are a lot of strategies that are in place already across all of our schools to support our students, and our staff works very hard to forge relationships with students. But this is a good time for us to reset that and focus again on the relationships and trying to work through some of the obstacles and challenges that all of us are having. And we're also trying to create and reinforce a continuum of responses to students when they are doing things that aren't acceptable in the school setting and that we need to respond to, but we're balancing that with trying not to go directly to exclusionary practices, which also goes counter to building supportive relationships. So it's really time where we're trying to find the happy medium on that continuum of services and not swing the pendulum too far to being exclusionary with our discipline, meaning suspensions and expulsions, while at the same time not swinging to the other side of not having clear consequences for behavior. So it's really we're all in a very challenging time, the staff, the students, the families, and I feel very excited that we have the opportunity to integrate these new supports into the district to try and address the issues. As I said, we expected them, but when you're in the middle of living with it, it doesn't matter that you expected it. It's still challenging for everybody to get through, but I am confident that we will. The staff in the schools here are wonderful, and they're 100% committed to our students. So I am confident that we will all be successful. We just have to get through a little bit of a rough transition patch. So that's basically what I have in terms of an update from the school. I don't know if anybody has questions or if Chair Prayati would like to add anything to that.
I would just add one thing, and then we, of course, welcome your questions. One of the first things that I heard in watching from home in April of 2020, everything that was unfolding across the world, was that we should expect a significant amount of mental health issues from students when we return to in-person learning. And just like every other district, that's exactly what Greenfield is seeing. And we just need to be really empathetic to our families and our students right now, do everything we can to support. And I do see that GSET Director John Lund is here on the call, and I just want to acknowledge that Man U 3-2 over Atalanta this afternoon. Big win for them. And yeah, we'll happily take your questions now.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, Councilor Semple Ray has arrived. And
Yes, ma'am.
Councilor Semple Ray, do you have a question?
I want to thank Dr. DeBarge for addressing those concerns because for me, it's listen, like I understand that we're coming out of a pandemic and absolutely the empathy is there. And I'm so thrilled to hear that there's positions, dedicated positions, being charged with kind of thinking this through from both, to your point, making sure the pendulum isn't swinging both ways. Because I think the trauma is perpetuating new traumas with students who are afraid to go to school right now because of the violence happening within the high school, at least with students. And it's trickling down to academics, it's trickling down to sports. And these are young adults who I'm concerned with their mental health being, like kids should just worry about going to school if they want to do that, and focus and how I'm not articulating this very well because it's something I'm very passionate about, but I'm seeing specifically young women coming to me, students, concerned about their well-being and not wanting to be in the school building right now. And these are usual performing students, not that all students aren't, but I think you understand what I'm trying to articulate, but I'm not. So like how can we address the concerns of students within the walls at this point in time who are just the perpetuation, I guess, of the trauma that's creating new trauma for these students who are just trying to do their best and learn and show up, who feel unsafe because they're feeling as though they're not the lockdowns and everything else that's happening to keep them safe is scary and it's frightening. And they feel as though their teachers, and I explained to these young adults that everyone's tapped out and to be empathetic with their instructors as well. But it's just such a hard place to be, and I'm so grateful for your leadership because I know that you're thinking of this holistically. But how do we make some positive impact right away so that these students are feeling able to thrive in the building, and able to do what young adults should do, and that's learn, participate in academics and extracurricular activities without the fear of getting hurt or being a part of violence that
So
it's
I'd like to
concerning to me.
Yes, Christine.
clarify a little bit if I may. I'd like to first share that there are the vast majority of our students are doing exactly what they should be doing every day in school, and they're being positive and productive and supporting each other. So while I do acknowledge there have been some incidents where there have been some physical altercations, I'd like to just reiterate the fact that it's not um, a consistent, constant, daily, uncontrolled environment. The vast majority of our students are doing exactly what they need to be doing. Um, we do have supports at our high school, and we have community supports that are working within our schools for our students. Our director of pupil services has worked with a community agency, and of course, because I'm trying to give them credit for the support, I can't think of the name. So we've added an additional counseling resource to the district. As I shared, we've just added these positions in. We have skilled guidance counselors and school adjustment counselors at the high school, along with our other schools that are there to support our students. But one of the most important things they need to do is speak with our high school administrators or the guidance staff or our school psychologists. And if they're not getting what they believe is an appropriate response, then they would need to contact my office. That's how we can facilitate some change or get communication happening that maybe isn't what they would like to happen. But we do have administrators at our high school that are extremely dedicated and working hard to address these issues. But we are dealing with a lot of students who are struggling and dealing with the effects of trauma. And I understand your concern, but some of the impact of the trauma of the pandemic is also an increase in anxiety and withdrawal and stress. And so I think, the reactions of people who are sharing concerns with you are very valid. But I think we can provide some resources and supports for them, or referrals for resources, if they connect with the school staff that I outlined or with my office.
And I want to follow up, President Ricketts.
Okay, 1 second. I'll come back to you. Counselor DeSorga?
Really?
Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much. You seem to have great insight into the problems of our children, and I'm delighted that we've added those 2 new positions. I understand that you appears to be traveling right now, and I just have a question. At some point, would you be able to send to us the enrollment numbers for the different schools? I think
I
10
have
to
the
1.
enrollment numbers.
Oh, but
I'm not
okay.
actively driving. Don't worry. I'm not.
Oh, okay. I hesitated to ask. Thank you.
No, I have the enrollment numbers. These are our students that are currently physically in the Greenfield Public Schools, or that we are fiscally responsible for. So that would be 1,638 students as of our October 1st report.
1,638?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If I could just clarify, that is a snapshot that we take on October 1st that we have to submit for our state reporting. So it could have fluctuated on October 2nd, but that was our official reporting.
Understood. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. Counselor Stemple Ray, and if anyone else would like to speak, please put it in the chat.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that we are just meeting now in graduate 2005 Greenfield Public Schools. I am the most proud of our public school system, and I know how dedicated our faculty and our administrators are. So I just want to precursor it by that. And then just to follow up to, and now obviously like we're not going to solve any situations here tonight, but the last thing I wanted to say was I understand that the structures are there and the support's there, but it feels a little it feels a little off telling these young adults that if you have an issue because you're not feeling safe at school, or you're worried about violence perpetuated by students in school, or you're not able to focus because students are acting out in class, that you need to go get resources in order to support your education. So it feels a little, I don't feel like that is fair. And I know that there's nothing that's fair. Trust me, I learned over the last year, life isn't fair. But it just feels like they're already overcoming a burden that isn't, I hate to say this, but it isn't theirs. It's in their environment. But then in order to thrive and succeed, they have to go do this extra step. It just doesn't seem appropriate. And I don't know if you have the answer. I know this new person's ramping up. And so we can absolutely continue the conversation. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. But it just feels wrong to have them have to fix it for themselves.
Oh, and they absolutely not have to fix it themselves. I think, we do have resources that they can access if they choose. But in terms of reporting, if they're feeling the way you're describing, we do have a lot of resources in the building that they can go to talk about how they're feeling. And I think that's one of the most critical pieces, is for them to access resources to share their concerns. And then certainly if you or any member of the council are hearing concerns like that, reaching out to me is greatly appreciated. I'm always happy to get that information and be able to follow up. And certainly, I know, as you said, we're not going to fix anything tonight. And, we can't get into the depth of a conversation I'm sure we would have in a more one-on-one setting for you to share this information that you've been getting. But I would be very happy to have that conversation offline.
Thank you very much. And I'm just so happy that you're here, and I support you 100%. So just let me know how I can help.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you so much, Christine. And like I said last month to all the counselors, that Counselor 4G and I meet every month with the mayor, the superintendent, the school chairs. And so if anybody, isn't finding the time to go to the appropriate people, right, to the superintendent or the school committee chairs, you could reach out to Counselor 4G or myself. Like I said, we meet every month. And so we bring everything forward, and it's really great conversations. I really like these monthly meetings. Okay, do any other counselors have anything they'd like to ask or make any comments? Okay. If not, thank you so much.
Thank you. Great night.
Thank you all. Take care.
All right, good night. Okay. Communications from the mayor, city of officers and employees, and I did invite John Lunt tonight too, so the mayor will decide when everyone will speak. So go ahead.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Christine DeBarge, for your candor and your conversations around what you have been experiencing as we begin to reopen our schools. So thank you again for that this evening. So since I can't say, how about those Red Sox
I know.
tonight? I can, well, based on last night, I guess I can say, how about that free cash? And I'm hoping everybody got their email today that said the Department of Revenue has certified free cash for the city of Greenfield at $2,394,109. So when Liz Gilman in Ways and Means last night said, well, we expect to hear from them at some point in the near future, we did not, believe me, in City Hall, expect to hear like the next day. But that's a really, really great number. And I'm very excited about that. And following on the heels of the revenue number that I think you folks were sent as of September 30th, it's not bad news at all as we close out the end of the year for the city of Greenfield. Our revenue, of course, is still down, and but it's not. What is that phrase? Been down so long it looks like up to us. It's not as far down as we thought it could be at this stage of the game, and we have quite a few months left to go. So good news on the financial front at the moment for the city of Greenfield, and I'm very excited about that. Moving along, again, sort of financial information. I figured if she had such good luck last night saying we're going to hear soon, or sooner than, more or less, about the revenue, I would say we have several grants out there. I have two, and the third one I can't remember, but that we expect to hear from soon. And one of them is, so make sure everyone understands, we haven't heard yet from the various people that we have been seeking grants from, because there is a lot of grant money out there, and it is one of the ways that the city of Greenfield can get things done that are very important for all of the citizens of Greenfield in one way or another. Continue to pursue them regularly through primarily at the moment MJ Adams is why I seem to have an echo.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry about that. I don't think it's coming from my end. Whoever call-in user 3 is, if the call-in users would mute, that'd probably help. It seems to, whatever reason, cause an echo. So we hope to hear soon from the Urban Agenda Grant. That is supporting the Compost Collective, which is a really great program that helps people who have been incarcerated re-enter with a job and hopefully with a home and a place to live. So we expect to hear soon from that. And we also expect to hear soon from, I think, DHCD with regard to the downtown revitalization initiative, technical assistance for us for creating an RFP for the First National Bank building. So that's, that building on Court Square and Main Street that we know has such potential and has such history in the city of Greenfield. We will be going out through the GRA, the Greenfield Redevelopment Authority, for an RFP, seeking for developers to do something with that building that enhances downtown Greenfield. And we have asked for some grant money to help with technical assistance on creating an RFP that is very specific to that building, which is a very unique building. Next up, I just was going to say I will have an opportunity tomorrow to speak at a meeting with the Department of Housing, the State Department of Housing and Community Development, along with other elected officials and mayors in Western Massachusetts. The meeting is being sponsored by the Western Massachusetts Network on to End Homelessness. And we will have an opportunity to advocate for real funding, because we know between ARPA, whatever's going to come down eventually from the federal government, that we have a lot of money out there to deal with both housing and homelessness. And we want to make sure that Western Massachusetts is on the front end of that, because we have many, many challenges out here across all of the communities of Western Massachusetts. So we will be advocating for real money to provide housing for the homeless and wraparound services, something called permanent supportive housing, which includes both capital to create the housing, operating budgets to assist. This is just one example with rental subsidies and additional services for people. So I will have an opportunity tomorrow to state Greenfield's case on that. And I, this week, have been working with our lawyers on closing documents for the fire station site at Main and Coons. I'm not able to still discuss that, but if you're working on closing documents, that means the closing will be soon. So we are all very, in the fire station mayor's office, very excited about that. And last but not least, I would really like to share with you a, let me find it here because I'm going to have to read it. A thank you letter that appeared in my email today. It is not very often that we get a lot of thank yous in the city of Greenfield. For all the different departments that do their work, at least not one as important as this one. So this is a thank you letter to the Greenfield Police Department, and I thought it would be really important for me to read it to you. It's short, so it won't go on forever. It addresses Lieutenant McCarthy. Dear Chief Robert Haig Jr. and the Greenfield Police Department. On behalf of Greenfield's homeless, I'd like to thank you for your efforts in equally protecting the homeless people's rights to be present and live in a safe environment. The way Greenfield Police Department creates and enhances positive relationships with this population has been great. Many citizens are proud of our Greenfield Police Department's commitment to assist and serve all levels of population through transparency and depicting a helping community is a healthy one. As communities are continuously evolving, we, as compassionate citizens, are not only expected to step up to the plate and lend a helping hand to those in need, we strive for everyone's absolute best practices to support those we assist. And as you, Chief Robert H. Haig Jr. wrote, the officers of the Greenfield Police Department are committed to progress in a positive direction through strong community participation with open communication and open minds, which is at the heart of our professional duties. And then to continue, leading by example, and therefore we will continue to build relationships and partnerships with community members and organizations which will help guide us in our continuous pursuit of policing with the highest level of professionalism. Please know that I, Cynthia Dodge, talked to one of your officers on Main Street a couple of weeks ago. He referred to himself as working with Laura Gordon in the area of assisting the homeless. I gave this officer my card. He mentioned if it would be all right to bring needed warm clothing and boots to me at my apartment for the homeless. I told him yes. But I really felt it best to deliver any and all items directly to the homeless shelters at the shelter at 60 Wells Street, Greenfield instead. I have a very bad heart condition and it's starting to take a toll on my health. I need to rest more and stay retired. I wish to thank the officer and all others for their heartfelt compassion for those in such dire straits. And listening to this almost 1 more month to go, 75-year-old disabled lady. I hope by assisting our homeless, we will provide the best services and aid in their behalf to depict integrity through dignity for all. God bless and stay safe, with a big thank you for all you do. Sincerely, Cynthia Dodge. And I just want to thank Cynthia for sending that in to us. And I greatly appreciate the fact that she acknowledged the police department. And this is a result, I am sure, of our increased community service policing that we are doing in partnership with the CSO. So that is all I have right now, but I'm happy to take questions if there's.
Okay, so Mayor, I just wanted, Mayor, I just wanted to start to dovetail off of that. I want to say on behalf of the CRE committee, Councilor Mayo, we had a great forum on speeding. We had 2 police officers and Marlo Warner, and we learned a lot. They spoke in great detail about, there was lots of stuff to learn about speeding and how much over the speeding limit, and all about, you know, cameras, no cameras, everything. I can't even go into how well of a presentation the officers gave at CRE last night, or 2 nights ago, just this week, I'll say. So I just want to thank Chief Haig, those officers, and Director Warner for taking the time and giving that information. And I know it meant a lot for people who, you know, we get a lot of emails about that. And of course, we tell everyone to please reach out. But I think us as counselors learned so much more last night. So please pass our thanks along to those folks.
Will do, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to do that. I was actually having our first of probably at least one more ARPA listening session. So,
yeah, we were trying to talk fast so people could go to that too.
It was pre-scheduled, and I'm sorry, Councilor Mayo. I didn't mean to rain on your parade, but it sounds like you had a good meeting, and I appreciate your efforts on behalf of all of the neighbors that are concerned about speeding on the street. So, no problem.
Okay, and before, okay, yes, Councilor Dolan?
Yeah, I have a quick question for both the mayor and the council president.
Sure.
So about 18 months ago at this point, both the planning board and the council voted suggesting that a zoning study group be formed. Been watching that, haven't seen a lot of traction. I think I'm ready to admit that that is not going to happen at this point. So I'm curious what this administration's plan is to address the zoning issues that were brought up in that conversation and that came out of the Greenfield Housing Partnership report, and when we can expect to see that become a priority.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. I'm smiling because, interestingly enough, I've had that order, or the vote rather, on my bulletin board behind my desk for quite some time now. And I just looked at it today, and I reread it, and I said to myself, that's one of those things, Roxanne, you haven't been able to do in the last year and a half, because a few other things have, I'm quite sorry to say, taken precedent over it, because that is the world that we live in right now. Unfortunately, I prefer to plan versus be reactive. So I haven't forgotten it, Councilor Dolan. It may not happen on your watch. I'm sorry, very, very sorry to say. But I haven't forgotten it. It's still up there on my bulletin board, and I promise I will give it continued thought. And I hope going forward that you might volunteer to be a member of that committee in the future.
Okay, so thank you. Mike Corona, if you want to speak, you have to put your name and address in the chat box, and then I'll get to you when it comes to public comment, okay? So I'm going to go now with Counselor Mayo and then Counselor Elmer.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a question for the mayor.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, you talked about revenues being down. Can you tell us exactly where the revenues are down?
Well, you know what? That's the one piece of paper that I don't have with me, although we do have Director Gilman on the call, or at least she was earlier. So she can probably give you the specifics.
Okay.
When I said down, that was only as of September 30th. And there's certainly certainly areas that you might think they were down. Excise tax, people haven't been able to buy new cars, so forth and so on. So, but we've had some very bright sides too on that. And without sort of going deep into my computer, if Director Gilman has that information ready, the council president is fine to allow her to answer. I will defer to her.
If she has it ready, that's fine. And if not, if we could get it in our email tomorrow. So whatever is most convenient.
So,
All right.
I did send 2 memos to council. One was in August, kind of talked about fiscal year 21 revenues. And those were down. We barely made budget. But the recent memo I sent for 22 talked about how I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel on some of the local receipts. That the hotel and meals tax for the first quarter of fiscal 22, which is through September, is up from the prior September quarter. And that our marijuana revenue local is already over budget, and that our veterans assessments is over budget. The mayor did touch upon a concern that we have that the motor vehicle may not come in strong this year, just because new car sales, from what we are reading, just aren't happening. The motor vehicle commitment does not come out until March, so we really won't know until then. But on the other side, we've had the sale of Bendix, which was a lot of over tax revenue that had accumulated, and we did receive that this year. 300,000 was a nice amount to receive. We recently had the auction where the Stone Ridge property sold for quite a bit more than the taxes that were owed. So this is all helpful toward this year, even if motor vehicle comes down. So, all in all, what I like to see, especially going into the preparation for the fiscal 23 budget, is that we are seeing the local receipts recover. And yes, end of December will be the best indicator before we go into budget season.
No.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Liz.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Counselor Elmer and then Counselor Gilmore.
Thank you, President Ricketts. Madam Mayor, I have a question about the Stone Ridge properties. I was very happy to see that you'd found a way to protect the trails that run through them, that the bicycle get heavy use by bicycle riders. But I had a question about the piece that you sold, whether you were able to protect the paths that run through the top of that property, or whether the bicyclists are going to have to turn around when they get to the end of the 13-acre property. Thank you.
As soon as that property actually closes, and I did speak with Treasurer Collector Kelly Varner, I don't know, a day or so ago about it. It hasn't closed yet, but as soon as it closes, we will certainly enter into a more serious conversation with the gentleman who purchased the property. If I'm not mistaken, and I haven't spoken to Travis yet, but Conservation Commission Chairperson Travis Drury, I believe, did discuss with him that particular day whether he was interested in keeping those trails active. And I don't think he received bad news on that. I just don't know what the specific news was. So I would say stay tuned, counselors and all others who are interested in those trails.
Thank you.
We haven't forgotten it, and we won't.
Okay. Councilor Gilmore.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know, one of my neighbors in Precinct 6 texted me and let me know that she's on the phone. She can't get in through WebEx. And she wanted to know how she could speak during public comment. And I thought it'd be nice to ask out loud in case there's anyone else on the phone.
Okay, so we'll do
is
that
wondering.
when we get to public comment. I'll do that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so at this time, I asked John Lunt this morning, so I thank him very much for coming. If he could just give us a quick overview on the progress. I know Councilor Jarvis and I have received some correspondence about how GCET's doing. And so I go right to where I'm supposed to go. So Mr. Lunt, if you could give us any information.
Sure. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start actually by saying that we did have an incident at GCET yesterday where we did receive a bomb threat through an email. It wasn't a threat that was specifically aimed at us. It was a threat that was sort of periodic in our industry and unfortunately in other industries too. And we did follow up with the police, and I wanted to take a moment to thank both the police departments and the fire departments because they followed up with us very quickly. They did a really thorough job. The threat was against what they called our data center, and that actually is the paper mentioned GCET was evacuated. That's not quite true. It was actually Town Hall that was evacuated because the point of presence, what we call the POP, is in the basement of Town Hall. But they had clear instructions for everyone on what to do. They came and swept through all the affected areas. They did come over to the GCET offices and do a very thorough sweep there. And just on behalf of everyone at GCET, I wanted to say thank you to Chief Hay, Chief Strand, and everyone in public safety, because they were right there very quickly and they did a really thorough job. And it really helped make everybody sort of feel better in what could have been a somewhat tense situation. So thank you to them. It turned out that it was not a credible threat, which was great. And GCET actually stayed up and stayed operating through the whole thing. But I just wanted to point out that, you know, they do that all the time. And we were happy that they were there, and we just thought they did a great job. So other than that, for GCET, there's two really big issues for us. One is that our growth has actually been very strong this year. We're just over 35% ahead revenues for last year, which really puts us on a very firm course to end this year on a sustainable basis, which is the first and biggest goal that GCET has. We have grown in a number of areas. We've actually have quite a few more business accounts than we used to. In fact, in the past year, we've signed up more business accounts than we had previously in the entire history of GCET. We've added enterprise accounts, private schools. Additionally, we've grown with some businesses that started out in co-work spaces here in town and have gotten big enough that they are now working with us on substantial long-term enterprise contracts. And one of the things that we feel really good about is we have actually signed up about 70 families for the emergency broadband benefit program. And that has been a real lifeline for people, and we are continuing to try to reach out. I would ask any counselor if they know of anyone in their district that needs this kind of help, please get in touch with us, because we can walk people through that process and help them with the federal portion of qualifying for it. And we've done that for a lot of people, and it's something we really would like to see everyone who needs it get it. And we could use everyone's help to continue to expand that program. Beyond that, we are moving into North Greenfield over the next year, so we have a number of projects that we'll be pursuing up there. Ultimately, we hope to be covering about 1,500 additional homes. We currently cover about 85% of the population of Greenfield. When we finish all those multiple projects, which is not going to happen in a week, but it is something that we're working towards, we should be well up over 90% of residents in town covered. We still know we have some areas in South Greenfield and downtown to cover, but we are moving methodically through it. The first project involves working our way up Bernardston Road. We've actually already pulled fiber all the way up to Severance Street, and we are working on engineering, and we should be able to address areas in North Greenfield that are east of 91 within the fairly near future. And we do have a crossing under 91 that will take us eventually to Barton Road and to the cross of Barton Road and Country Club Road. So for people who live, I did speak with Councillor Jarvis. We are working at it, and we are coming. And that will help expand, as I said, another 1,500 customers, just for potential customers, pardon me, 1,500 homes that we will cover. Just a few numbers for you. We have about 1,300 residential home customers. Of that, about 800 are internet customers, and a little over 500 are internet and TV bundled customers. I'm sorry. And then we have another 500 customers that are additional residential customers. So we're actually coming up on about 2,000 homes and businesses in Greenfield that have GCET. We still have a 99.9% uptime for the overall network. I think the internet has worked really spectacularly well. I think people like our TV. We have to work a little bit on our DVR cloud service, but we've been signing up new customers really strongly, and we're having another strong month this month. So we're feeling like we're in pretty good shape at the moment. And the way the trends are working, we will be operating sustainably and continue to grow until we can cover the entire city.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all good news. This is great. Do any other counselors have any questions for Mr. Lunt? Not seeing any? Please, if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out directly to Mr. Lunt or to GCET, and they are really quick. So thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, so Counselor Gilmore, put your neighbor's name in the chat so I'll see that when I'm running through. And right now, Counselor Forgy, you have a question for Liz.
May I interrupt? She texted me and said that she's online now.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Quick
Oh, is
question.
it Sandy Kosterman? Okay.
Quick question for Liz. Certified free cash last year, what was that number? Certified free cash last year, what
Right.
was that number?
It was 2 years worth. I'm sorry, it is around 2.7 million. I can get it if you can hold on.
That's okay. That's okay. My question is, out of our free cash from last year, what are we carrying at this point as the balance before this certification?
So you don't really carry it. It closes out and then gets recertified in the following year. So
Okay.
about 152,000 was from that.
Okay, thank you. That's great. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Do any of the counselors have any questions for anyone? Okay. So at this time, I'm going to go to public comment. So because of background noises, if you came in by phone, we may have muted you because it just bleeds over into the meeting. So I'll start going down the line and then you'll let me know if you want to speak. I'll start with Joanna Whitney.
President Ricketts,
Yes.
Marlo had his hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Director Warner, I can't see anybody's faces hardly. Go ahead,
Yes,
Director.
thank you, President Ricketts. As we spoke earlier this
Oh,
week.
that's right.
Yep,
I'm
it's
so
all right.
sorry.
It's all right.
You are right.
It's okay. It's all good news. I got to add to everyone else's good news. So
Okay.
good. I just wanted to give the latest update on Wisdom Way. I sent a memo requesting the 41,100 that will be on the table tonight, but a lot's happened since I wrote that memo. And I'll try and be as brief as I can.
Okay.
It was bid out and the bids were open on August 31st. It was awarded to CNA Construction for $2.88 million. Notice to proceed was issued by Federal Highway and Mass DOT on September 21st. I attended a very long, about 3-hour pre-construction meeting last Tuesday. They may be starting some of the work this fall, but very minor. It won't be closed, but it's due to go full bore in the spring and expected to be completed in September of 2022. Excuse me, October of 2022. And a real quick scope on it, it's about a 2,000 linear foot project with 750 feet of retaining wall being replaced, with a 10-foot wide shared bike path with a rest area halfway up the hill. As of including tonight, if the appropriation was approved, the city of Greenfield will have $379,118 invested in this project, which has been a long process, 4 years, I think. So we're getting a $2.88 million project for what we invested. So those are the highlights. Those are the bullets. The memo I sent, it's required under Federal Highway Administration for the consultant firm or the engineering firm that did all the run-ups on the engineering for the project to have oversight on the project and the final plans, the as-builts, and construction oversight. So that's what my request is in for tonight.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry for that. I'm not kidding when I'm telling you all that I'm very much out of it tonight. So I apologize again, Marlo. Thank you for waving away, even though I don't see you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, President Ricketts.
Okay. So before I go to public comment, Madam Clerk, did you want to speak now or were you going to hold that?
That's completely up to you. I did want to.
Please leave it up to you.
Okay, so yes, I would love to take a minute. So I wanted to just speak a little bit about the proposed legislative split to Greenfield. The mayor and I have had conversations. We've all sent letters and communications. I've talked with the Secretary of State's team that has assisted us with our redistricting here in Greenfield that's before you tonight. And their advice was continue as planned. So ask your council to vote the precincts that are before them tonight. If for some reason the proposed legislative split happens, the city can always come back through and look at another map and vote again. I'm hoping, as we all saw the draft map that came to Greenfield earlier this year, you saw it in about June, I think, June or July. That was also a draft map. The legislative map is a draft map. I'm hoping that this does not go through.
Yeah.
Just like the original draft map that we had did not cut the mustard. It changed to our delight. There are very small differences in our current precincts and what our precincts will be on January 1st, as proposed to you tonight. I'm hoping that's the case. I can't guarantee it. It's not up to us. If it were, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Right.
But I am requesting that the council vote the precinct map as proposed. And I did see Council President Ricketts that the mayor had her hand up.
Okay, Mayor? And are you muted?
Very
Sorry.
probably.
Sorry. All I would add to that is late this afternoon, I did receive an email from Representative Susanna Whips of Athol, who informed me that, I didn't call it up, so I don't have all the details, but there will be another, who I guess it was an opportunity for the legislators to weigh in, who are involved in all of the different redistricting pieces, to weigh in. And she plans to send yet another recommendation, as she did before earlier this week or late last week, to the committee to keep Greenfield whole, put it in the first Franklin district, which is represented by Representative Natalie Blaze, not split the district, and prayed for the population piece, which is whatever it is, Montague and I can't remember the other city, the other town, put in her district. But it really is, her suggestions make more sense for both opportunities. In other words, keep her district whole, add some folks to it to make up the population. Whether or not I agree with what she wants to do or not, I'm glad to see that she is on the case. And she did say, regardless of what happens, she will plan to represent all of the citizens of Greenfield, not just those precincts that she will be representing, but responded to our calls to write into the legislature. So if they really do care about their emails and have some semblance of how problematic what they want to do is for the city of Greenfield in particular, I hope that they pay attention.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, thank you. All right, I'm so sorry to the public. I am so sorry. Councilor Gilmore, really quick, and then we'll get right to the public. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I can hold off.
No, ask now because I'm not bringing people back in if you're going to talk about this.
That's fine. So this is for Clerk Scott. It seems so. I saw that proposed map. I was in the office to sign that letter with you, and I was under the impression that this was going to split precincts, but if this goes through, does that mean we have to re-precinct again? And if so, do we still need to have the same number of residents in each precinct?
Yep, okay. All good questions. So I've talked to some other clerks that have split communities. They did re-precinct, but others have, as long as the legislative split includes the entire precinct, we would then have, and I'm going to just use an example, precinct 1, which I don't believe would be affected by it, that's why I'm using it. Precinct 1 would be precinct 1A and precinct 1B. So at the polls, instead of having 9 precincts, we would have certain precincts as a precinct A and certain precincts as a precinct B. So we wouldn't necessarily split the representation by the council. We would have to split the representation because of the legislative district.
Right.
Thank you. I think I understand better.
Okay.
Thank you so much. The public, I'm so sorry, and Joanna Whitney.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. Joanna Whitney, 112 Franklin Street in Greenfield. I want to speak tonight about, there's a lot of conversations that have been happening for a while now around Greenfield's housing issues. Some of them more accurately described as crisis kinds of situations, like people who are unhoused as we move into the winter. Others facing challenges with affordable housing. I would like to add that we really urgently need accessible housing. That doesn't necessarily mean, you know, every single thing is perfect for every single level of disability, but we have reports that show in Franklin County, even simple things like having a grab bar in a bathroom. There's really a very few rental units that have even minimal features that would make them inhabitable for somebody who has a disability. At the same time that we are thinking about all these other kinds of issues to do with housing, we need to remember in each of those groups, there could be people with disabilities. And if you leave that out in your planning, you're leaving somebody who might be homeless and, you know, not able to do stairs well, or not able to manage in other kinds of ways, all the way up through, because at every point, the goal is for people to have a next step, get them from that crisis kind of emergency housing into something more stable. Housing that is affordable for people who are, you know, in their starting out their working lives and in their first apartments, all the way through to people who are seniors downsizing and wanting to still stay in the community, but needing housing that accommodates whatever their physical limitations might be. Thank you.
Thank you. John Garrett.
Hello, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. I just wanted to speak in favor of the proposed resolution that's, I think it's number 9, that would turn the Hope Street parking lot that the temporary fire station is currently on into mixed income housing. I read the resolution and it makes a ton of sense. It's something, you know, my partner and I are actually just in the process of closing a house on Hope Street, and, you know, we would welcome more neighbors. So I just wanted to give a full, hearty endorsement to that idea. I also briefly just wanted to speak on item number 7, which was about the sale of surplus property. And to be initially, when I was going to talk about, looked at this item, like, oh no, what are they going to sell now? They were trying to sell off Boat Seat before, and now it's like, what is this item? And then I looked into it in more detail, and it's condos, and it seems fine. But just brief soapboxing, I was really disappointed to read in the recorder about the sale of trails on, and the acres on Poet Seat. I understand the resolution is better than it could have been, but the fact that the strategic thinking wasn't there to consider that once land is closed off from access, it no longer is accessible. It's a basic principle of conservation. And the mayor kept talking about tax rolls and getting money, this property back on the tax rolls. And what you're missing is, see it as a reason that people might want to move to town. And there's an embarrassment of a parking lot at the bottom. Like, not just to be negative, but it's something that there should be a sidewalk there. There should be a sidewalk. There should be signs all coming into town. And the idea that you would sell off chunks of the same mountain ridge. And I read in the recorder, she said that if the private homeowner didn't, earlier this meeting, if close off the trails, that's just kind of the breaks. That's not strategic. So I just wanted to critique that. And again, I'm glad for the resolution and kind of the response from the community. I'm really gratified to see that. And just one last thing, and I'll stop talking. The 2 citizens petitions seem like nuisance petitions. And the idea that, they're basically just trying to slow a process down. And, the idea that meetings should be held in person, that makes sense when it's not an emergency. And just the very last thing, the idea that the city common should be as it existed on January 1st, 2021. I made a point, again, I'm buying a house in this town, of looking at some old fire maps and old images of downtown just because of all the controversy around Court Square. And back in 1900, there was grass where the city hall steps were. So the idea that, oh man, we should put some automobiles back in this spot is absolutely insane. And if we're going to call ourselves a city, we should act like it and create spaces for people to gather. So that's my soapboxing. Thank you for the time, and have a fun rest of the meeting.
Thank you so much, John. Dave Lewis. Dave, are you there? If you're on a phone, we might have muted it.
Mute. Okay, I'm on.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right, this is on the barriers of Court Square. 300 signers of the petition, even with it underneath the purview of the mayor, the council could encourage the mayor to not block off that thing permanently. Also, the in-person meetings, open meeting laws, access to computers. A lot of older people do not have access to computers. They have no clue what to do with a computer. You're blocking people that might be able to attend an in-person meeting. As far as the Corvid thing, at some point it's going to end. And what I found out from somebody, a friend of mine at the hospital last week, they only had 1 patient in the hospital. So I think it's time for the mandate to be lifted. Let's get back to normal. Let's let the people come to your meetings. I don't know if you're afraid of us or what's going on, but come on. Thank you. Oh,
thank you so much, Dave.
Also, Madam Mayor, please don't faint. I agree with you on this, being against the splitting of the city into 2 districts. It took me a while. The website connection was not correct on the recorder. I went to the Senator Blaze's website and got the correct information and was able to actually send an email to Boston letting them know that I and a lot of people up here are against them splitting the city into 2 districts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Susan Wagafnik.
Okay.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm here to support Councilor Dolan's resolution on the former Hope Street parking area and having it transformed into affordable housing. It's important to understand why this is an important issue for Greenfield. 57% of the households in Greenfield are identified by the Department of Housing and Urban Development as being either extremely low, very low, or low income. 57% of the households. All of those people would be eligible for housing designated as affordable. So who are these folks? They are the people who work at gas stations, serve you your food in restaurants, ring up your groceries, and some of them work in our public schools. Many of our unhoused people do not live in tents in the woods or on the common. They are two single parents who are sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with their 5 kids. They are young single adults who are couch surfing with their friends. They're adults who have had to move back at home with their parents. Or their families where the mother and 2 children are living with her parents and the father with the other kid is living with his parents. So we have to recognize that we're talking about our neighbors here. And many people you see in the supermarket are people who are that would not be officially in the homeless numbers, but are unhoused. Why Hope Street? Why now? We're getting used to not having that as a parking lot. The idea of it going back to a parking lot, it seems to me, is ridiculous, especially since we have a parking garage that's never full that's around the corner. This is public land. We have very little public land that is in any kind of proximity to downtown. This is also public land that is right near the transit station, and there is public money that is available for the transit station, for housing that is near transit. So we could actually get some additional funds to be able to support that. Also, that the Hope Street lot is close to the YMCA. And that would mean that families living in housing there would be able to have their kids get childcare at the Y or daycare at the Y. By building on public land, we'd make development less expensive, and that would mean this housing would definitely be more affordable. And a significant portion of the Commonwealth's ARPA money, not the money that's coming to Greenfield, but the money that is coming to the state generally, is going to be put into housing. If we start planning now for housing there, we really have the opportunity to get in on that money and be able to make this work for all of us. I'm not suggesting that the city take on this project, but rather put out a request for proposals for housing on that land. The city and the community could set parameters about what's needed. How many 1-bedroom apartments? How many larger apartments? What about accessibility on ground floor apartments and with universal design? All of that kind of thing we could decide. I know of 2 nonprofit developers who might be interested in developing this land, and I'm sure there are profit-making developers as well. So the Hope Street parking lot is a resource that we can't afford to waste. And I hope we start exploring ways that we can put housing on this land as quickly as possible. We have the right place. This is the right time, and all we need is the will to move forward. And I thank folks very much for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Donna Fessinger, your name and address, please. Are you on phone?
Yes. Hello?
Hi, your name and address, Donna.
Donna Fessinger. I'm in precinct 6. I first want to start out with thanking the mayor for her efforts in countering the splitting of our town into 2 districts. I think that's a wise move, and hopefully through her efforts will prevail on that issue. I don't think it would be good for Greenfield to be split into 2 different districts. Secondly, I watched the Appointments and Ordinance Committee meeting last week, and I was disappointed that they put forward a negative recommendation to the town council in regards to the petition to maintain the configuration of Court Square. Clearly, 300, almost 300 voters signed that petition. So they ignored their constituents' concerns and wishes to keep that Court Square as it's always been, with free flow of traffic and the parking that was convenient for elderly and handicapped people to go to Town Hall. I believe that the town council could, even though it's not in the town council's purview of and decision-making as to what comes out of the Court Square situation, it would be, I think, the town councilor's job to represent their constituents and what the constituents of their precincts want. And clearly, by going around and getting these signatures to almost 300 people, I could tell that the overwhelming feeling with the voters in Greenfield is they do not want Court Square blocked off. So I was disappointed in that negative recommendation from the Appointments and Ordinance Committee, and I'm hoping for maybe a little bit more of a little concern of the town councilors for their constituents and what their constituents want when they discuss this with the mayor, which was the purpose of the petition. Okay, and then lastly, in regards to the other Greenfield group petition calling for in-person council meetings, I feel that utilizing the WebEx on the computer for town meetings actually eliminates a large segment of voters from participating in their town government because they do not own a computer and they do not have computer access. And even if they have a computer, they don't feel confident enough to participate in the use of a computer. And I talked to hundreds of people, and quite a large majority of our town is elderly and do not use the computer or own a computer. So I feel that that's a discriminatory practice. Also, the scheduling of some meetings on WebEx is completely arbitrary, as many meetings are actually being held in person, including the time that the Appointments and Ordinance Committee met last Wednesday. There was an in-person school committee meeting happening at the very same time. So I feel like it's illogical and inconsistent with the explanation. The reason why you're having
Ma'am?
WebEx meetings is COVID.
That's your time.
Okay. And that was good because I'm finished.
Thanks so much, Donna.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Sandy Costerman?
Hi there, Sandy Costerman, Barton Road, Greenfield, Mass. And can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to say I'm so happy to hear that GCET will be coming to North Greenfield. We've been hoping, we've seen some of the evidence that it is coming out here, and we're just really happy to hear that it will be. And let's see, secondly, in regard to the two petitions, the citizens petitions, we do encourage in-person meetings along with the WebEx meetings. And the in-person meetings would be for people who do not have computers. And the WebEx meetings are also a really wonderful thing too for people who can't get out but do have a computer. So I hope you would consider having both of them. And the other thing I have is about the petition, the other petition. We would like the barriers in front of the City Hall removed to facilitate the flow of traffic and access to Bank Row, and open the handicap parking spaces to the handicapped as well as the elderly in front of City Hall. We think the barriers are a safety issue and they impede fire trucks if they need to go to McCarthy Funeral Home or Second Congregational Church. And we think it's okay to close that area for special events and farm markets. And let's see, please do what you can to keep greenfield in one district. That was another concern I had. And lastly, keep the parking, all the parking lots open and available for parking, as Greenfield needs more parking, as it generates revenue, and people don't really want to park in the parking garage in the condition it is in now. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I have another one. I've heard from family members of GHS students about what has been going on at Greenfield High School as far as damage to the school property and possible students hurting teachers. As a former teacher and taxpayer, I'm concerned about this. And I wish or hoped that perhaps tonight or at some point you could please elaborate on this and let us know what really is going on and how it's being addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy.
President Ricketts?
Mike?
Yes, thank you. All set.
Mike Corona?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, I have 10% of my battery, so I can't put the video on. But I just wanted to thank the mayor and thank you, President Ricketts, for this platform and the opportunity to speak in this public hearing. I'm new to this, and I appreciate the learning curve I'm dealing with, so please kindly bear with me. I wrote some notes, and just hearing some of these issues that are important to the community and to everyone that represents the community. I appreciate everyone's passion and effort. But regarding the students issue, I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I can't reference any particular points. But just listening to the issues being discussed, the students, you know, I'm hearing a lot from the people, and what I'm hearing from parents and actual students themselves is that they're concerned with these mask requirements. And some of them are dealing with depression, some of them are having some health issues, and some feel intimidated to speak out. And I was wondering if any of that was part of the existing programs that you have available for assistance for that you spoke about. And then regarding these homeless and housing issues, you know, I come from a big city, you know, New York City, and I moved to Greenfield, and I'm just been enamored and in love with the beauty and the people. And, you know, one thing I have to notice that I've noticed is, you know, well, what's causing, or the question that I ask is what's causing this homeless and housing? And usually where I was from, it was about, you know, a lot of drug dependencies or substance abuse. And, you know, I have noticed a lot of activity in the area, and you know, people talk, and they've been talking to me about these issues, and it's just something that, you know, you know, I had a question basically, you know, what existing programs do we have that we could maybe reinforce or strengthen, you know, moving forward with all these opportunities that we have available. I understand that we're dealing with some fiscal issues in revenue generations, and I appreciated, if I could find his name, Mr. Lunt's efforts with the GSET. And to me, he seemed that, you know, it was growing, and business was doing well, according to 2,000 homes and businesses participating or subscribing to his to the new, I guess, opportunity or of this program. And maybe it could be a good idea to maybe link up the people that maybe are in need of jobs. I was thinking, and that's just my thought. And to that effect, there was a Susan. Susan made some really great points. And you know, her issue was very passionate, and I support her point of view. We are now living with extended families, trying to make ends meet. So I appreciate her cause, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't know too much about it, but the way she presented it seems to tie in or dovetail to many of the issues that Greenfield is challenged with at the moment. And there was another gentleman by the name of.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, is it too much? I'm sorry.
It's 3 minutes.
Oh, it's a
Thank you.
3-minute thing, but thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, no problem. Come back again.
Okay.
Thanks.
And oh, can I say one last thing? I agree with the mayor and the town not splitting up. I mean, you know,
Okay.
with the great history it has, so I definitely support that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Pamela Goodwin? Your name and address, please.
She is still muted, President Ricketts.
Okay.
Pamela,
There she goes.
54 High Street. I spent 45 minutes trying to get on the WebEx, and I usually don't have a problem, so I'm going to support that. I could have had no problem on a Zoom, and I have no idea why I had all that trouble. So I'm glad to be here, and WebEx is a real pain, and I'm fairly techie. So anyway, I got off that blasted phone because on Zoom I can use my phone and put my name in chat, but not on WebEx. So anyway, I just want you to know that I don't like WebEx, and I usually don't have a problem because you've seen me before.
Yep.
I'm going to talk quick because 3 minutes, okay? I am for in-person meeting as long as it is hybrid for those people who are not able to attend in person. However, I want a chair of a committee or a board or the president to be able to evict people who are obnoxious and start with the F-bomb. And when the police are there, the chair has the responsibility to get a person removed because there were people in the other meeting that didn't feel safe. There were 5 cop cars that rolled in there. And I was so embarrassed by that. And if you heard my comment or you saw that all over YouTube, it's a shame. So I am for in-person meetings as long as you work out the whole hybrid thing. And I don't want to be in jeopardy, and I don't want other people to be in jeopardy. And in town halls and meetings and select boards, they eject people who cannot be nice. So I had a conversation with President Ricketts. I had a conversation with Councilor Mayo about this. I didn't have time to call Councilor Gilmore, but it's critical that a chair or a president get people out of there when it's bad. And that's how we're going to maintain decorum, in my opinion.
That's right.
2, distancing myself from the original petitioners for the same reason that I just mentioned. However, I do want to hope that MJ Adams talked about a hybrid thing. I'll call it a hybrid. It's a small lane of traffic that's able to move. I would love to go back to the 18 or 1900s that somebody talked about and expand the grass and put on comfortable chairs and tables and have it be a proper, bigger common and still have the flow of traffic where it needs to be. We even had a lawyer make a comment about things last time, and they have a right of way. So I know MJ was at a meeting, so was Director Marlowe. It was a great meeting. We had about 15 or 16 people there. It turned out half of them were on a committee that I didn't know, but it was public comment for that. So I'm counting on people at the end of November, when the pilot is over, to take a look at the emails, take a look at the concerns, and come up with a plan that is a compromise. That's what I believe can happen in a nice town like Greenfield, or city if you want to call it a city. Third, counting on, oh, sorry, I did that one
Okay.
already.
All right. Your time is up.
Can I say one thing?
Really fast.
I'm in favor of Councilor Dolan and using that former parking lot because I am serving on all those housing committees. Susan W. said everything that I want to say. We just met again about this, and I'd love it if there would be a zoning ad hoc committee so we could get moving on that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Andrew Vernon and then Gregory St. Germain. Andrew, your name and address, please. Andrew, are you still here? All right. I'm going to jump down.
This is Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good evening. Andrew Vernon, 17 Sunset Square, Greenfield. Thank you for taking a moment to listen to me. I wanted to make a comment as to whether meetings should be in-person, remote, or hybrid. It is my personal and professional opinion as someone who is a disabled resident in the city of Greenfield that the city of Greenfield should look to encourage hybrid meetings. I personally have absolutely nothing against being in person. I know the law and the requisite that they be in person. But in my opinion, hybrid meetings are not only more efficient, more effective. As someone who works, I can get home and participate more efficiently and effectively than having to go and park and get into the meeting, etc., physically. And even more so, someone who has a disability, and I am that person who has a disability, participating in person in any public meetings, regardless of Greenfield or not, is difficult for a variety of individuals who have physical disabilities or visual disabilities. And that's long been a personal concern of mine. Hybrid meetings are much more efficient, much more effective for me personally. I do not need to socially embarrass myself by going close to individuals to see them. I imagine that others with various disabilities have their own challenges. So for at least myself, hybrid meetings are much more effective, much more efficient, and I need not disrupt myself socially and embarrass myself in a social setting. As to what Mrs. Goodwin mentioned a moment ago, I agree WebEx is not an effective platform. My opinion, I would encourage the city to use its native Google Business Suite and the Google Meet feature, which is currently a service available to the city, rather than the additional superfluous expense of WebEx. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Greg St. Germain? Gregory?
President Ricketts, he is here. He is still on mute.
Okay. Next.
Hello,
There
can you
you
hear me?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can.
Okay, my question goes to the mayor.
You can make a comment to her in a question, but she can't answer you, but go ahead.
President Ricketts, he is back on mute.
That's okay. I'll give you a second. It's just public comment, so we can't go back and forth though, okay? So if you do your question, if she's still in the room, she'll hear you.
I'm going to try to unmute him, President Ricketts. I don't know if it will work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question goes, sorry, and okay, I will actually use this as a perfect example to, I'm 40 years old and I've lived, I'm very I'm very good with computers, and I still can't figure this stuff out. But anyway, my question to the mayor is, there have been dozens of studies done that have proven that not only are masks ineffective against the COVID virus, but also have negative health effects. What is your justification for telling people they need to wear the mask and pushing the vaccines? And do you know that this goes against the Nuremberg Code, which is a genuine crime against humanity?
Anything else, Greg?
No, that's all. This is on public record, so I'm just
Okay.
no answer on this one.
This is not a back and forth
You
conversation.
are all
It's just
criminals.
public
You're
comment.
genuinely criminals. Good night. Have a nice night.
Okay, you too. Thank you so much. Okay, all counselors are here tonight except for Counselor Wheeler. Okay, does anybody else from the public want to speak at this time? If you're on the phone, you could just speak up.
I just remembered. Hi, it's Mike Corona.
Oh,
From.
Mike, you've already spoken. I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
You're all set till next month,
Thank
but
you.
you can email me tonight or in the morning, okay? I'm President Ricketts, so please email me. Melissa Webb, your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Melissa Webb and I live at 44 Grove Street. I jumped on because it popped up on Facebook that it was going on tonight and I've been listening for a little bit. And I just wanted to say that I totally am in favor of hybrid. As a mom who has 3 young children, I cannot make it to an in-person meeting or it would be very entertaining for all of us involved. But I do like to know what's going on. And I like to be part of my city and hear things. So I definitely am in favor of hybrid for this, as well as for school committee to also stay in the hybrid phase because you never know. Also, I just wanted to touch base about the housing. I think that's awesome. We definitely need more affordable housing in Greenfield, and to be part of it is always a success in my book. As for, I've heard a lot of people talk about the town common, and I feel that there could be some good compromises, maybe having it closed off on the weekends, open during the weekdays for normal business hours. I know a lot of people who use that space on the weekends and really enjoy it, and a lot of people who would like to see some traffic flow maybe during the weekdays. And we do have a lot of green spaces. I mean, there are lots of green spaces that are super accessible to town. Maybe they're not directly downtown, but we do have like at least 3 to 4, parks just within a mile from downtown Greenfield that do get utilized quite a bit. And I do see the common getting used as well on the weekends and during the weekdays. So it is nice to have that, but we do have other green space. I just really wanted to add to it. So thank you for your time. I really hope you guys will consider keeping things, in a hybrid model for a lot of people. I feel, it's the best of both worlds. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, hearing none. At this time, we're going to move on. I just want to thank everyone for coming. If you didn't have enough time and you have more things to say, please reach out to City Council. You can send an email to the clerk's office. It will come to all of us. Also, I'm Councilor President Ricketts. Feel free to call me if you'd like, but it is 3 minutes and it's not a conversation. All right, thank you. At this time, I would like to move on to Councilor Forgy for the public hearing and second readings on page 14.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Good. All right. Public hearing in accordance with Home Rule Charter. The Greenfield City Council will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via WebEx to receive public input on the following: transfer $41,100 from capital stabilization for Wisdom Way engineering and construction administration services. Transfer $200,000 from OPED Stabilization Fund 8406 to the OPED Trust. The City Council may consider the same on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 via WebEx. Materials can be obtained from the clerk's office, 14 Court Square, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or phone 413-772-1555, extension 6163. Penny Ricketts, City Council President.
Thank you. Is anybody from the public wanting to speak on either of these items? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we close the public hearing?
You can close the public hearing now or after the second reading.
Okay. We can do it after the second reading. Well, does it matter to you,
It's okay.
Council?
Do you want me to do second reading?
Yeah, why don't we just do that now?
Thank you. City Council, second reading, October 20th, 2021. Transfer $41,100 from capital stabilization for Wisdom Way Engineering and Construction Administration Services, and transfer $200,000 from OPEB OPED Stabilization Fund 8406 to OPED Trust.
Okay, is there a second on that?
It doesn't require a second, President Ricketts.
And perfect.
It's just a second reading.
All right.
Would you like to close the public hearing now at 8:16?
Yes, please.
Wonderful.
Okay, motions, orders, and resolutions. Okay, the first one, extension of GI zone map R42. Councilor DeSorga?
Order number FY 22-023. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the City Council of Greenfield amend the zoning map R42 by extending the General Industry District GI to include all or a portion of Lot 4 that would include the shop building and run all the way down the river. See the map attached as Exhibit A, and further amends the table of contents and index of the code, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the City of Greenfield. 2/3 vote required.
Second, Mayo.
Would you like
Go
the
ahead.
report from the
Please.
committee?
Yes.
This was a unanimous positive as from Economic Development, and the Planning Board also was unanimous positive. There was a brief explanation by Janet Keys and a petition that's in your packets.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments? Yes. Councilor Dolan.
Yeah, I was looking at this. I'm just curious if you have an explanation of why this doesn't qualify as spot zoning. I think there is one, but I wasn't clear as I was reading it, particularly because it's for the benefit of one party. But maybe that came up in the discussion.
May I, President Ricketts?
Yes, please.
The question of spot zoning did not come up in the discussion, but this parcel of land, it's a large parcel of land, running right through it are two different zones, GI and RA. And their shop that they had used for business was actually in the RA zone. So we didn't consider that spot zoning, and it actually made sense.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Councilor DeSorga? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Councilor Jarvis?
Oh.
Not yet?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody said, oops.
That was me. I thought you meant I was missing Counselor Jarvis. He wanted to say something. Go ahead. I get it. You're the first one.
No. Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
The motion passes unanimously from those attending.
Thank you. Counselor DeSorger, can you continue on, please?
Yes, order number FY 22-024. The City Council moves that it be ordered that the City Council of Greenfield amend the zoning ordinance, Chapter 200, zoning, Section 7.17, marijuana establishments, as attached in Exhibit A, and further amends the table of contents and index of the code, and further, that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the City of Greenfield. 2/3 vote required.
Second, Mayo.
Would you like the report from committee?
Please.
Okay. This was wisely initiated by the planning board, and there was a unanimous positive recommendation from both the Economic Development Committee and from planning board as well. The marijuana courier was recently approved by the Cannabis Control Commission, and by making this change, the city is able to designate where this is permitted. It falls in line with other zoning around marijuana. The marijuana courier and delivery operator falls around where the other zoning entities are permitted.
Great. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer, Counselor Elmer, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay. He votes yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously by those in attendance.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor DeSorga. Counselor Gwen?
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 2, Legislative Branch, Section 2-8, officers elected by City Council, subsection A, City Auditor, not be amended as proposed by the Charter Review Committee.
Second, Forgy.
The Appointments and Ordinance Committee had a positive this is one of those ones that's a little odd to put forward. They were all in agreement to not change it as you see in front of you.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk? Oh, go ahead.
Could we just
Counselor.
explain what a yes and no vote is going to do on this, Clerk Scott?
Certainly, please correct me if I get it backwards.
That's what I was worried about.
Okay, yes. A yes vote will not change the charter. A no vote, although there is nothing here before you to change it to, would change the charter. So if you don't want to change the charter, you vote yes. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any
Counselor
other questions?
Jarvis. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Gwynn.
Yes.
Counselor Disorder.
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley.
Yes.
Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore.
Yes.
Counselor Mayo.
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld.
Yes.
Counselor Elmer.
Yes.
Counselor Forgy.
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
No.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
The motion passes by majority.
Counselor Gwynn?
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 3, Executive, Section 3-3, Appointments by the Mayor, subsection A, be amended as indicated below with bold text to be added. Section 3-3, Appointments by the Mayor. The mayor shall appoint, subject to the review of such appointments by the City Council as provided in Section 2-10, all city officers, department heads, and the members of multiple member bodies for whom no other method of appointment or selection is provided by the charter or by ordinance, excepting only persons serving under the school committee and persons serving under the city council, except as may otherwise be required by the civil service law or other applicable law, and in this charter or by ordinance. Appointments made by the mayor shall be for indefinite terms. All persons categorized as department heads shall, subject to the consent of the mayor, appoint all assistants, subordinates, and other employees of the agency for which such person is responsible. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request any legislator to amend the city charter.
Second, Disorder.
Thank you.
This also received a positive, unanimous recommendation for those in attendance.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Madam Clerk, we have a roll call vote.
I think
Yes.
Councilor Elmer had his hand up. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilor Elmer.
Just a small correction. It was request said legislature to amend the city charter in the last line there.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Stemple.
Does this also, so this has the language being referenced in, it's not, that was my issue, the last one, is to remove language without suggested language being put in kind of leaves a hole. And so this doesn't leave vacant language, for lack of a better terminology.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk?
A yes vote would change the charter. A no vote would leave it the same. Counselor Jarvis.
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn.
Yes.
Counselor Disorder.
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley.
Yes.
Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
Counselor Vice President Gilmore, Vice President Gilmore,
Yes, did you hear me?
I did not, but thank you very much.
Okay, sorry.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Counselor Gwynn.
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 3, Executive, Section 3-4, removal or suspension of certain officials, subsection A, city officers and department heads be amended as indicated below with the strike-through text and highlighted punctuation to be removed. Section 3-4, removal or suspension of certain officials. Let me just ask, we have this strike-through version in front of us, Clerk Scott. Is it necessary for me to read this in its entirety? Because it's kind of hard to read it omitting punctuation.
I think if you summarize what was being stricken, that would be welcome. But
Would that be acceptable?
You do need to read the last part that the city council further
Correct.
instructs. Okay.
Okay. So the strike-through version before you, under the mayor may, we're striking out the word in writing. It says remove or suspend any city officer, because later on it does come back and saying by filing a written statement with the city clerk. You can see where those punctuations are being changed from so with this highlighted strike-through version, what is, Clerk Scott, what are we doing with that punctuation? We're taking out.
In the third line, there are 2 commas that are being stricken. They are being removed. So there would be no commas in the third line.
So it's a written statement with the city clerk, and then
setting forth.
Okay, then that's the third line. 4, 5, 6, 7th line. We're striking the comma from that line. Make a written reply by filing such a reply statement with the city clerk. Once again, omitting those commas.
Correct.
So very much a maintenance piece here. You've got this version in front of you. So in writing, the redundancy is being taken out, and then those commas are being removed. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislator of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislator to amend the city charter.
Second, Jarvis.
Okay.
This also was a positive unanimous recommendation from A&O for those present.
Are there any questions or comments?
Councilor Mayo has his hand up, President Ricketts.
Counselor Mayo?
Counselor Gwynn, may I ask, and maybe you don't know this, but what kind of paperwork was required by the mayor and is now being offered to the town clerk to do? So I just want to get a handle as to what piece of paperwork is being handed to the clerk.
I have no information on this. Maybe Clerk Scott could answer that, or maybe the review committee. I'm not sure of that specific.
Okay, because it sounds to me if somebody's being let go, there should be some paperwork
Well,
to follow that.
President Ricketts, I see that Councilor Forgy and Councilor Elmer had their hands up, and
Okay.
I can also respond later if you would like me to.
Can I just say one more? If you, in our document on page 33, it says, it is suggested that deleting in writing is suggested because it comes up later by filing a written statement. So it was just a redundancy being removed. It already said written, but it said in the previous sentence in writing. And then it says, it is suggested to delete the comma in each instance so that the reading of each sentence is stated more clearly. So this was truly maintenance of getting rid of commas and stopping a redundancy within our charter. That's
Okay.
my
Okay, I understand now.
Okay.
Councilor Forgy, do you still have something?
right. This is based on past experience. The paperwork that would be submitted would probably be, could be disciplinary in nature. It could be a notice of intent to manage an employee of some sort, to remove an employee for a specific reason. These are sort of pieces that would fall into the HR category, I believe, more than anything else, but it is within the mayor's purview to remove, suspend, promote, any of those things. And with all of those actions, there is documentation that exists administratively. So that's what I think the charter is referring to. And as Councilor Gwynn mentioned, these are just housekeeping items.
I guess my concern, Madam President, I guess my concern was that the employee was offered just cause, and it doesn't sound to me like that's part of this at all. It just sounds to me like it's just a paperwork fix.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
okay, so now I understand that.
Thanks. Yeah. Plus, they all have unions. So, did Councilor Elmer have something?
Nope.
No. Okay. Any other questions or comments by anyone? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Jarvis,
Yes.
Councilor Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilor Disorder,
Yes.
Councilor Bottomley,
Yes.
Councilor Dolan,
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore,
Yes.
Councilor Mayo,
Yes.
thank you, Councilor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Councilor Elmer,
Yes.
Councilor Forgy,
Yes.
Councilor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Councilor Gwynn?
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 3, Executive, Section 3-6, Communications, Special Meetings, B, Special Meetings of the Council, be amended as indicated below with the bold text to be added. The bold text to be added is or by secure electronic communication that allows receipt confirmation. This received a positive unanimous recommendation from A&O.
Second, Mayo.
Okay. Made second, and we know the recommendation. Are there any questions or comments?
President Ricketts,
Yes.
would it be possible for Councilor Gwynn to read last three lines, please?
Sure.
It is mandatory at this time.
It is mandatory, yes. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislator of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter. Now I can't read.
Okay.
Time for a roll call, President Ricketts?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Counselor Jarvis.
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn.
Yes.
Counselor Disorder.
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley.
Yes.
Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore.
Yes.
Counselor Mayo.
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld.
Yes.
Counselor Elmer.
Yes.
Counselor Forgy.
Yes.
Counselor Stempelray.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Counselor Gwynn.
President Ricketts?
Nope.
Counselor,
I believe this went to EDC, not A&O.
Oh, yay. Oh, are we on page 36 now?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Yes. Counselor DeSorger. Yes.
Order number FY 22-027. The City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council declares the real estate at 294 to 296 Federal Street, units located in the 298 Federal Street building, to be surplus property and transfers said property to the mayor for sale. Majority vote required.
Second, Elmer.
Mhm.
Report from committee was a unanimous positive of the members present.
Perfect. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes. Councilor Ricketts?
Yes, please.
I wanted to thank Councilor Stemple for stepping in and running last Tuesday's meeting, and you for being on standby and participating.
No problem.
I'm in total agreement that this was a magnificent idea for the reuse of this brownfield. As a member of the planning board, I voted in favor of this desperately needed 64-bed detox unit. A new detox center was opened on Federal Street on top of a toxic brownfield site. The assessment, remediation, and renovation process went from June of 2014 to July of 2016 for this first unit. There were numerous contaminants, including lead, nickel, silver, arsenic, and VOCs, specifically TCE in the groundwater, soil gas prior to remediation. Standard operating procedure should be to check the safety of any facility before admitting patients. This did not happen. All 64 beds were filled by the week ending July 11th, 2016. The testing began after this. The patients' rooms were all occupied and thus could not be tested as they were full. July 21st to 22nd, testing was done. Results: vapor intrusion of TCEs that significantly exceeded the safety threshold for indoor air. In fact, the readings in the nurses' station and other offices that could be checked were high enough to trigger a 2-hour immediate response action per the EPA, one of several IRAs for this site. A possible solution for this was installation of SSDS. The deadline to install that was not met. An extension requested to hopefully fix the issue was asked of and granted by the EPA. At long last, in January of 2018, a sub-slab depressurization system was installed in this fully occupied facility. The 4 rounds of testing from February of 2018 to 2019 showed increases in toxicity in indoor air. The last sample was taken on February 28th of 2019. No further testing was reported since February of 2019. The EPA website says that the site was remediated for lead, arsenic, nickel, silver, but not VOCs. There is also a concern about substantial release migration to soil, water, and groundwater. I cannot vote for the sale of this property to 401 Liberty for the following reasons. As evidence shows, further remediation needs to be done, and that a hard and fast plan for perpetual monitoring of air quality, wells, catch basins, and soil samples need to be in place in this facility. Lastly, as this actually is a residential treatment center, it is imperative that the AUL authorization use limitations designate this facility as residential, and that it be completely remediated to a residential standard. I urge my fellow councilors to vote no on this proposal and the next until these issues are addressed.
Okay, is anyone have any questions or comments? Counselor Elmer and then Counselor Bottomley.
I must say that although we discussed this in Councilor DeZorger's absence, we didn't know any of this, and I wonder how we should proceed, because it seems like this needs more deliberation to address the concerns she's raised. I'm open to suggestions.
Motion to table.
Okay, Counselor Bottomley?
President Ricketts,
I'm sorry, yes.
there's a motion to table on the floor.
Okay, who made that motion?
Counselor Gwen.
Good, okay. Do I have a
It
second?
would need a second.
Second,
I'll second.
Elmer.
That's fine.
okay. The motion's been made and seconded to table.
A motion to table is non-debatable. Would you like me to go ahead with a roll call?
Please.
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
No.
Counselor Bottomley,
No.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
No.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray,
Yes.
does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
The motion to table passes by majority.
Okay, so Counselor DeSorger and Counselor Dolan, can you do the next piece?
Yes.
President Ricketts, would you care for me to read order number FY 22027 that also pertains to this?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
Order number FY 22-027. The City Council, upon recommendation of Mayor Rita Gardner, that it be ordered that the City Council vote to authorize the mayor to sell 294 to 296 Federal Street, units located in the 298 Federal Street building, based on City Council Standard Operating Procedure, RE 0001-03-N, Policy on Sale, Lease, or Option of City-Owned Land. Majority vote required.
Second, 4G.
Would you like the report?
Please, yes.
The report from the committee that was present was a unanimous positive.
Counselor Gwynn?
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge, when I made the motion to table before, I did not mean to cut Counselor Bottomley off from what he wanted to express. So I do apologize for that. The floor was open, and when Counselor Elmer said, how do we recommend this? It was a motion to table until we got the information, but I did not want to cut Counselor Bottomley off. I apologize.
Okay. Thank you so much, Counselor Bottomley, for that.
Sorry, the table.
Was that a motion to table, Counselor Stemple? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yes, correct.
Second, Jarvis.
The motion to table has been made and seconded. President Ricketts, would you like me to do a roll call vote?
Please.
Counselor Jarvis?
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn?
Yes.
Counselor Disorder?
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley?
Yes.
Counselor Dolan?
Yes. Yes.
Vice President Gilmore?
Yes.
Counselor Mayo?
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld?
Yes.
Counselor Elmer?
Yes.
Counselor Forgy?
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray?
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes and yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously and is tabled.
Okay. So at this time, Vice President Gilmore, can you start the next one? I actually need to get to my doctor's office, so I'm going to try to hop on by phone, and I'm going to shut this off so that I
Penny,
don't
do you need? I'll call you.
need double sounds coming in. So let me just grab my life and get my daughter, and I'm gonna try to get on and vote.
Penny, would you like me to
Keep
call the
going.
ambulance for you?
No,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
exactly what my doctor said too.
Okay.
All right. So thank you. So keep going, everyone, and
Feel better.
thanks.
Penny, I hope you feel better.
Thank you. And Sheila, you have it. I got you. I'm not coming back to watch you. I'm coming back to vote. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Well, we hope you're back soon.
Okay. Hello.
All right. I'm sorry, folks. That was do folks need a minute? I don't want to just rush through. Do folks need a minute?
Okay.
I think we're probably good to go, but if anybody does need a minute, feel
I just
free
wanted to make sure that if
mention
someone
it.
wanted to
Ready.
take a 5-minute recess, because I think we're all concerned about President
Yeah.
Ricketts.
Oh.
But if
President
that's
Ricketts-
not,
President Ricketts' wish was for us to continue, so I think we follow her wishes. I know it's very important to her.
absolutely. I was just going to entertain that, if somebody wanted to take a 5-minute break, but we can move through.
Okay.
So
We're on page 38.
next on the agenda is the resolution requesting that the mayor pursue the development of Hope Street parking lot as mixed income housing when the temporary fire station is no longer needed. And I believe that was Councilor Dolan.
Yes. Would you like me to read that order?
Yes, please.
Move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council approves the attached resolution titled, "A Resolution Requesting that the Mayor Pursue the Development of Hope Street Parking Lot as Mixed Income Housing when the temporary fire station is no longer needed." Kathy, is it necessary to do all of the whereases?
Generally, resolutions are read in full unless they're multiple pages.
Happy to.
Okay.
Whereas Greenfield has excess parking capacity, and whereas the municipal parking structure has historically been underutilized, and whereas the housing crisis in Greenfield and nationwide continues unabated, and whereas the Sustainable Greenfield Master Plan identifies enhancing and expanding options to live in walkable neighborhoods and reduce automobile reliance for work, services, and recreation as a key strategic priority for the city, and whereas the current site of the Hope Street parking lot is both walkable and transit-oriented, and whereas zoning on that site is favorable to the development of new housing, and whereas surface parking lots are a low-value land use, and whereas returning city-owned land to the tax rolls in a productive use will help ease the tax burdens for Greenfield residents. Therefore, the Economic Development Committee of the Greenfield City Council, the body in the city's legislative branch that deals with, quote, all matters pertaining to planning, redevelopment, housing, and sale of town-owned land, hereby requests that the mayor proactively seek a public or private developer to create a substantial number of mixed-income housing units on the side of the Hope Street parking lot, negotiating incentives with said developer as needed to ensure that the project is feasible.
Second, Disorder.
Thank you. Would anyone like to comment or ask any questions about this resolution?
Report from the committee?
Would you like me to
Is it
report?
Councilor Elmer?
Yeah, I was going to
I'm
say.
sorry. Please.
I was wondering whether it was appropriate to have a report from the committee.
Thank you. Please, Councilor Disorder, this is your committee, correct?
Yes. This was a positive recommendation from the Economic Development Committee with one abstention.
Right, thank you. And Councilor Dolan, if you would like to explain your rationale.
Yeah, I won't try not to take too much time. So I look at this site every day, living over in Precinct 5. I've been thinking about it for 6 or 7 years. And when the temporary fire station went in, I started kind of making the rounds to committees. I went to Parking and Traffic. They passed a similar resolution, and we're currently in the works with Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee. Feedback for the idea has been good. My initial plan was just to have EDC forward a resolution directly to the mayor. So to clear things up, I would like to offer and accept a friendly amendment, striking the first 2 lines of the last paragraph and replacing them with the Greenfield City Council hereby request that the mayor proactively seek, just to clean things up. But I'm happy to have a chance to kind of bring this before the committee. A lot has been said in the public comment. I see this as a win-win-win. It's a way to make use of our parking garage that's underutilized, get properties back on the tax rolls, and also fill in this kind of big ugly hole we have in our downtown there, where we've been committed to a low productivity land use. So it's a resolution. It's just a recommendation. It doesn't do anything in itself. And this resolution is agnostic about the final product. It doesn't propose a specific project. And I would like to address the mayor's comments in the recorder the other day. I think the issue of parking revenue is a bit of a red herring on this particular project. Folks who work at the courthouse are probably not going to get new jobs. They're just going to park elsewhere in one of our many, at least partly empty parking lots that we have, and hopefully in the parking garage. We definitely need to do more research. I learned after spending 6 months looking that we don't actually have in this city a clear sense of how much parking we need. We don't keep data about how full our lots are. We have no sense of how our supply stacks up against the demand. So we need to do that one way or another before we start, thinking about, and then we can think a little bit more comprehensively about our parking supply. And I will just conclude, the cost of housing has shot up In terms of buying a house, 40 or 50% this year. It's the wildest real estate market I've ever seen, and the rents are going to follow. So in that context, I hope we can use this as an opportunity to communicate to the mayor that housing is a priority and that we want the executive branch to be working on this, and really pursuing every opportunity that we have that's similar to the Hope Street parking lot.
All right, thank you. So next I have, I'm sorry, were you finished? So Counselor Stemple may have stepped away, so I'm going to go to
No,
Counselor Jarvis.
Sheila, we
Oh, go ahead.
lost you. Sorry, your bandwidth was low, so we couldn't hear you.
Disappeared.
Oh, let me stop my video. I'm sorry.
No, no
Counselor
worries.
Stemple, I had you next.
Thank you. So I just wanted to give a robust report from committee because this warranted, we had a great conversation, as part of this resolution. And to summarize, we had the unanimous, I'm sorry, unanimous, it was the positive majority of members present to forward the positive recommendation, with the intent that it would be a conversation starter. We were lucky enough to have Director Adams there as well. And so we kind of had a conversation about like what options do we really have in terms of a resolution's nice, but I can count on one hand how many times a resolution has came to become an ordinance or a project. So we were thinking about other mechanisms and levers that the city council has in order to impact change. And so we had that conversation, and one idea I had was like, how do we turn this into an ordinance? So how do we use legislation to put forward what our values are? And so one of the special things about this resolution, as Councilor Dolan mentioned, was that there was no prescription, right? So there was opportunity for developers to kind of come in and have their own vision, and it wasn't self-limiting. But what they can also do is create a situation where we're saying affordable housing, but when you put an RFP out there, yes, you can list it in the RFP, and that's a one and done project. And this is a one or two term, 3-term, 4-term mayor. But what happens after this, we don't know. So one of the ways that I see other communities putting their values forward is through requiring certain percentage of buildings to be affordable versus market rate housing, or even sometimes we're thinking like cities like Boston or New York City where it's luxury condominiums. So that's one option. But so basically we put this forward to hope to have a conversation knowing guys, that it wouldn't necessarily happen here, but to start the conversation, maybe collectively decide where that next step is and what levers and what interests we have in creating real tangible change. And another opportunity that we discussed was we don't even know, or maybe we do know, but our housing stock, what percentage of affordable versus market housing do we need, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, so the report of committee is more or less like, let's start the conversation. I know we've had the conversation numerous times, forums, resolutions, but what is a lever in terms of an ordinance or some type of tangible thing that we can put forward to guaranteeing that the values that we have as a community are put forth by this council in a lasting way?
Thank you. Next I had Counselor Jarvis.
Okay. After that lengthy explanation, I don't know why we didn't do that in the first place, but we have the resolution in front of us to deal with. So I'd just like to just comment on one part that Tim said. I'm in full agreement with this anyways, but the parking meter doesn't wash. The tax revenue has to far outseed any revenue from parking meters. I can't believe that parking meters make as much as property taxes do. So that's just an excuse not to keep the parking lot. I don't believe the loss of revenue is going to be that great in comparison to the gain in taxes. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Clerk Scott, did you want to weigh in on this?
I would like to ask a question about the friendly amendment when everyone has had a chance to speak.
Okay, I'll come back to you then. If I
Thank
forget,
you.
let me know. Next, I had Counselor Elmer.
Yeah, I had promised Councilor Stemple Ray that I would uh, uh, speak enthusiastically about this thing, but I think it's already been said. We all thought this was a great idea. There was some discussion about how do you balance affordable and market rate, which is premature because um, but I also want to say that the mayor suggested that we really needed the revenue from that parking lot, and the mayor's office assured us that there was way more money to be made from tax revenue from a residential thing, even if it was all affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Counselor DeSorger.
I just wanted to echo what the last people said. We started the discussion a month and a half ago when Councilor Dolan was there. And I am also extremely enthusiastic about this. And thank you, Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. Next, I have Counselor Gwynn.
I'm also in favor of this, and I just wanted to make sure, pointing out what Councilor Dolan said, that the resolution says mixed use, and it's to get the conversation started, as Councilor Stemple Ray said. I think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, we've got something that, like he said, I don't always agree with Councilor Dolan, but when he says there's a hole in the middle of that section and it's underutilized, and I have to agree. I mean, it is, and this gets us going like we should do all the time. So I think some work went into this, and I would support it because it's not pigeonholed into one item. It's a conversation starter.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to go back to Clerk Scott. I have a feeling Clerk Scott, do you mind if I let Counselor Mayo cut in front of you?
Please.
All right.
I just wanted to thank you, Vice President Gilmore. Yes, sorry. I'm looking at small people here on my screen. So anyway, I do want to commend Councilor Dolan for bringing this forth. It's been a pet project of mine for a long time. I was hoping the one piece that I didn't see in here was I would have liked to have focused on low cost housing because there's a great need for that. And that includes people with disabilities who don't make a lot of money and would come into the category of low cost housing. So I'd be in favor of any kind of housing in there, but affordable housing works for me. But I would have preferred low cost housing. I think having residents there far outweighs any parking. We have parking all over the place that is underutilized at this point. We have a parking garage just a stone's throw away. We have the parking lot in back of Wilson's, which is only going to be a quarter, 3/4 of it, or 2/4 of it are not going to be used at all. So there's still that parking there. So I would be in favor of this resolution So I think if it moves, but I do agree with Councilor Stemple Ray with, how do we make this into an ordinance so that we can put our mouth where our money is, so to speak, and really start the dialogue talking and get some meaningful conversation going in a positive way. And I think this resolution starts that. And if it moves to an ordinance, it would certainly get my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mayo. Clerk Scott, please right the ship.
Thanks. So I heard Councilor Dolan make a friendly amendment, and I think I want to record that correctly. So I believe I heard him say that the last paragraph should read, "The Greenfield City Council hereby requests that the mayor," and continues. And I would request that we not use friendly amendments, even though they're much easier and we don't really want to have to go through a roll call again. I apologize. But if a motion was made and a seconded was received, and then the vice president agreed or asked that if the council agrees without objection, that amendment could be abstained, we wouldn't have to go the way of the roll call vote for that amendment.
Right, and I think that it's clear that since we don't own that parking lot as the council, I think that we could do that. So do I have any objections to that amendment?
We need a motion and a
I,
second.
I would make a motion to the effect that Clerk Scott just described, and my apologies about the housekeeping.
Second, Mayo.
All right, do I have any objections? Okay, seeing none.
That motion passes by unanimous consent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Did we want to continue the discussion, or does someone want to move to call the question?
I'll move to
All right,
call.
I'll call the question. Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion to call the question. Motion to call the question is non-debatable. Vice President Gilmore, would you like there to be a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
On the motion to call the question, Councilor
Sorry, point of
Jarvis.
order. Did we get a second on the motion to call the question?
I believe we did.
I'm sorry.
Mayo.
That's Councilor.
And just to clarify, this is not the vote on the resolution. This is just the vote to make the vote on the resolution.
This is a vote to call the question. Yeah, so this one, if we don't feel like we need to do a roll call vote, I'm fine with not doing that, and then we can talk about.
So the motion to call the question would need to be withdrawn by both parties.
I'm sorry, that's not what I was suggesting. I was trying to explain that this was a motion to call a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, am I experiencing lag?
At times.
It's possible. May I, Vice President Gilmore?
Please.
So it's my understanding that there was a motion and a second, and the amendment passed by unanimous consent, and that I understood you to call the question, and there was a second to that. If that is the case and you do not want to call the question, you would need to rescind, and the second would need to be rescinded.
So I'm sorry if I'm sorry. I thought we were calling the question.
Yes, and that would require a roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a roll call vote on calling the question. Counselor Jarvis.
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn.
Yes.
Counselor Disorder.
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley.
Yes.
Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
Vice President Gilmore.
Yes.
Counselor Mayo.
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld.
Yes.
Counselor Elmer.
Yes.
Counselor Forgy.
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yeah.
So the motion on the table is motion number 22034. This will be a roll call vote on the amended resolution. Counselor Jarvis.
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn.
Yes.
Counselor Disorder.
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley.
Yes.
Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
Counselor Mayo.
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld.
Yes.
Counselor Elmer. Counselor Elmer.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Forgy.
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
Yes. And yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I contributed to confusion.
No, that's fine. Okay. So now we are moving on to the election warrant, correct?
Correct.
All right. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council hereby approves the attached city biennial election warrant for November 2nd, 2021, and further authorizes the City Council President to sign said warrant on behalf of the City Council. And I assume I'm reading this in its entirety?
Yes.
All right. City biennial election warrant. City of Greenfield, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Franklin, SS.
Mm-hmm.
To either of the constables of the City of Greenfield, County of Franklin, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said city who are qualified to vote in elections to meet at the polling places designated for the several precincts in said city as follows. Precincts 1 through 9, Greenfield High School, Gymnasium, 21 Bar Avenue. On Tuesday, the 2nd day of November, 2021, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose. To choose by ballot the following city office. 2 city councilors at large, 4-year term. 1 city councilor at precinct 5, 4-year term. 1 city councilor at precinct 6, 4-year term. 1 city councilor at precinct 7, 4-year term. 1 city councilor at precinct 8, 4-year term. 1 city councilor at precinct 9, 4-year term. 3 school committee members, 4-year term. 1 assessor, 4-year term. 3 trustees of A.K. Warner Fund, 2-year term. 1 elector under will of Oliver Smith, 2-year term. 3 trustees of Jenny Obascom Education Fund, 2-year term. Question 1. Should the Greenfield City Council seek to amend Section 7-8 of the city charter to change the required number of signatures for citizen referendum petitions by changing the current charter language from a number of voters equal to 10% of the total number of voters voting in the most recent biennial city election, but not less than 2.5% of all registered voters as of the same date, to a number of voters equal to 7% of the total number of voters registered to vote in the most recent biennial election that occurred prior to the date when said signatures are filed with the city clerk. Given under our hands this 20th day of October, 2021. Penny
Second.
Ricketts, City Council President.
Second. Mayo.
Thank you. Did anyone catch any typos or any questions? All right. In that case, can we get a, I don't think we need a roll call vote for this.
How would you like to determine the vote, Vice President Gilmore?
Couldn't we just ask all in favor and all opposed? Or do we need a real roll call vote on this one?
I would say we should do a roll call vote because not everyone can see everyone else and there are interruptions in audio.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, in that case, we can do a roll call.
Counselor Jarvis?
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
No, it's okay.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right, so the next one is accept re-precincting for the city of Greenfield. I don't think this went to a committee, did it?
Correct, it did not.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll just read. The city council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council accepts as presented by the city clerk the 2020 re-precincting plan for the city of Greenfield, including the map, legal description, and block listings as written in exhibits A, B, and C.
Second, Mayo.
All right, do we have any discussion on this?
I have one question for the clerk, if I may.
Absolutely.
Clerk Scott, thank you so much for putting this all together. Will there be at some point a map that's clearer so that you can see the streets? I hate to ask you this right now because I know you're busy with the election, but
So I have a large map at City Hall.
okay.
You can see the majority of the streets. I did email out to the council a week and a half ago-ish, 2 weeks maybe, a map that you could expand and enlarge to see the streets.
Thank you.
But you're free to come look anytime. I can tell you the concerns with the draft map are not a concern in the current map.
Thank you very much.
All right, Councilor Forgy has a question.
I do. I need some clarification on this. Is this the map about the redistribution of precincts, or is this the map regarding the splitting of Greenfield between two state districts, two representative districts?
Oh, this one's just the precincts.
Thank you. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Did anyone else have any questions? All right, seeing none, can we get a roll call vote?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
No, that's fine.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So next, Councilor Forgy, could you please read for us
Sure. Thank
from
you.
Ways and Means? Thank you.
Yeah. Order number of fiscal year 22-019. The City Council, upon recommendation of Mayor Weidergardner and order, Wisdom Way Engineering and Construction Administration, moved that it be ordered the sum of $41,100 be appropriated for Wisdom Way Engineering and Construction Administration services, and to meet said appropriation, transfer $41,100 from Fund 8402 Capital Stabilization. 2/3 vote required.
Second, Disorder.
Thank you. The report from committee is this was a unanimous positive recommendation.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can we get a roll call vote?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. And the next one is also from Counselor Forgy's committee.
Thank you. Order number fiscal year 22-020. The City Council, upon recommendation of Mayor Rita Gardner, in order to appropriate $200,000 from OPEB stabilization. Ordered that the sum of $200,000 be transferred from Fund 8406 OPED stabilization to the OPED trust. 2/3 vote required.
Second, DeSorger.
This
Can I get the
also,
report?
yeah, coming out of committee, it was a positive unanimous vote. We did have a rigorous discussion around what OPED meant and also what the difference was between a stabilization fund and a trust fund. So the committee felt that this was warranted, hence the positive recommendation.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can we get a roll call vote?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Hirschfeld,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes. Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Stemple Ray.
Yes.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion passes.
Okay, so next, I'm going to ask Counselor Gwynn to take on the citizens petitions.
Thank you. I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council votes to approve the citizens group petition as submitted pursuant to Section 7-6B of the Greenfield City Charter to amend the Charter of the City of Greenfield, Article 2 Legislative, Section 2-6, Exercise of Powers, Quorum Rules, Subsection C, Rules of Procedure, by striking Subpart 3 in its entirety and replacing it with the following new language as indicated below in the bold text. All sessions of the City Council and of every committee or subcommittee, therefore, shall at all times be open to in-person public attendance except in cases of declared local or state public health emergency or a natural or man-made disaster, which renders such sessions dangerous to public attendance. Whenever in-person public attendance is not possible, all sessions shall offer an alternative method for the public to participate remotely, including the use of phone, internet connectivity, or other available technology. All sessions of City Council and of every committee or subcommittee, therefore, shall be recorded and made available to the public and aired on GCTV.
Second, Mayo.
And that the City Council further instructs the City Clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislator of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislators to amend the city charter.
Second. Second, Mayo.
Thank you, Counselors Gwynn and Mayo. Counselor Gwynn, can we get a report from the subcommittee, please?
Yeah, the subcommittee sent a unanimous negative recommendation to forward to the full council on the proposal to strike the existing line from subsection 3.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I could also give any rationale that anybody needs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to do that with the report. Please
No,
do.
I didn't, just in case there was anything right off the bat. Let me just do a little bit. As we're in the middle of charter recommendations and changes at the time, some things have come forward, which is the charter is meant to be a document that doesn't have a lot of specifics. It's more of a document that allows ordinances to deal with changing pieces of of the charter or adding. So when you get into this, first of all, it's a redundancy. We already have to comply to have meetings open in public. That's a rule. The only reason that right now we're doing the WebEx version is because it's allowable for the COVID mandate right now through April. If that wasn't the case, as Clerk Scott would inform us, it wouldn't be available. So this is really an unneeded piece because we're complying with the law and we're complying with the charter. And the problem they ran into that was pointed out by a couple of people, including myself, when you start to get this specific in a charter change, you make mistakes. One that I pointed out was the last line, where if you look, it says, all sessions of city council and of every committee or subcommittee, therefore shall be recorded and made available to the public and aired on GCTV. We cannot force GCTV to air subcommittee meetings or committee meetings. They have a choice of the viewers of their entity. A subcommittee, so the problem is it has those style flaws, and it's also redundant on the law that already exists and the charter that already exists. Any member of the committee can comment, but that was where the discussion was, and that's where, through those discussions, we came up with a negative recommendation.
All right. Did anybody else? Oh, Counselor DeSorger, please.
I watched your A&O meeting and understood exactly where you came down on this. I just wanted to say where there were so many people that signed this petition that I understand the problem with people not having computers and being able to get there. And I'd like to compliment the mayor's office and Fernando Fleury, because they're making the hybrid possible. They're halfway there with that. So I think that soon we'll be able to accommodate everyone. That's all.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions or comments?
Vice President Gilmore, Counselor Elmer did have his hand up. I don't know if he still wishes to speak.
I don't see him on my screen. Counselor Elmer, please do.
Yeah, I was just going to add that in the discussion, the sense was that they were all in favor of hybrid, and that I'm happy to get the report that we already have a Zoom room in City Hall, and that the equipment to make hybrid possible in John's On is on order. So it's not as if we're ignoring this petition. We're trying to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And Counselor Gwynn, you're back in the queue?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to speak personally, not as a committee chair. I am in full favor of having in-person meetings. When we can, I believe full council meetings should go back to in-person when they're safe. And when we're doing that, I appreciate all the people that put time into this. And I don't have to repeat, because Counselor Elmer just did a great job. You know, we all are looking at hybrids. We found out about the room at the town hall, which subcommittees will be able to be meeting in, which also are going to lend themselves to hybrids. We are moving in that direction. I think the problem with this change was asking for a charter change and asking it for it to be so specific. This could have been almost better as a resolution, as we just learned. It could have got the conversation talking, and then ordinances could have looked at it and said, is there an ordinance? We couldn't have even probably come up with an ordinance because it's already following state local law. We have to meet in person except when there's a piece. So thank you for that. And that's my piece. As soon as we can get to hybrids for the full council meeting, I think that'll be great. But the town is working, and I know Chief of Staff Letourneau did a great job updating us on that at the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Gwynn. I do see that we have a member of the public who wants to weigh in, but unfortunately, right now, this is the debate period, and we're not allowed to take public comment during this part. But is there another councillor who would like to ask a question, weigh in, or are we ready to vote on this? Okay, seeing none. Kathy, can we get, sorry, Clerk Scott, could we please get a roll call vote?
And a clarification on what a vote means.
Clarification on the vote. A yes vote would be in favor of the petition, and a no vote would not be in favor of the petition as submitted.
I'm sorry, you mean in favor of changing the charter?
Correct.
Because we have to accept the petition.
So the petition was submitted and followed the process of the charter. The motion before us, if you chose to vote yes to change the charter, would be in favor of the petition.
I see.
But the motion before you is to change the charter. So a yes vote would change the charter. A no vote would not change the charter.
Point of clarification.
Please.
Just realize we cannot change the charter. So even this vote, this would be a recommendation. It still has to go, any charter change has to go to the mayor. Then from there, it has to go to the state legislator. So this is, we don't get to change the charter. I'm just saying how this was drafted is also have some misnomers, but I don't want anyone to think that we can change the charter. That's not our power. That's the legislature of the state.
Thank you. I was using a little bit of shorthand there. My concern was whether the full council had to accept the petition. I know that A&O already accepted it, but apparently we don't have to do that a second time.
Thank you.
All right. In that case, as long as if everybody is clear, we could go to a roll call vote, but I'll give it one more second if fellow councilors have questions. All right, Clerk Scott, take it away.
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis?
No.
Councillor Gwynn?
No.
Councillor Disorder?
No.
Councillor Bottomley?
No.
Councillor Dolan?
No.
Councillor Mayo?
No.
Councillor Hirschfeld?
No.
Councillor Elmer?
No.
Councillor Forgy?
No.
Councillor Stemple Ray?
No.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion is defeated by majority.
All right, Councillor Gwynn, the next one was also from your committee.
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council votes to approve the citizens group petition as submitted pursuant to section 7-6B of the Greenfield City Charter for required actions by the City Council as indicated below. Pursuant to the placements of barriers blocking off Court Square, we, the undersigned voters of Greenfield, petition the City Council to maintain the configuration and dimensions of the city of the Greenfield City Common and all its abutting public roadway access as it existed as of January 1st, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Deck of Swords.
Thank you. Can I get a report from committee, please? And feel free to also summarize.
Sure. This received a negative recommendation with one abstention. The committee, if you all in front of you should have received a legal opinion by our town attorney from Jesse Belcher Timmy, the attorney. And if you have that in front of you, there's two pieces I will draw attention to. It says, it is in the context that the petitioners have sought intervention by the city council. The specific relief requested by the petition seeks to have the city council prematurely terminate the mayor's temporary actions regarding Court Square in a way that I believe would be an improper intrusion into the mayor's authority as set forth. And then in the next two paragraphs, it says, that being said, it is my opinion that the city council could not prematurely terminate the mayor's temporary change to Court Square by overruling or revising the action.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or comments on this particular? Thank you, Councilor Jarvis.
Yeah, I'd just like to say to the petitioners, even though I voted not to send a positive recommendation on this, we'd like to thank you for your hard work. And it doesn't go unheard. I mean, the 300 plus signatures that you gathered are going to end up on the mayor's desk. She's going to know that you have 300 signatures. So I don't want you to think that it isn't going unheard. And it is 300 voices against what they're doing on Court Square. So I'm sure the mayor will hear, your voices in your petition. Your petition is not going unheard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Forgy?
Thank you. I also want to reach out to the petitioners and say thank you very much for including us and giving us an opportunity to actually weigh in on this. We also have personal opinions about things. Oftentimes we have to act sometimes against our personal opinions because it's for a common good. The technicalities with this petition at this particular point has been stated by Councilor Gwynn and by our city attorney, so that the council does not have this kind of authority with a strong mayoral form of government, which includes a strong mayor. More than anything else, you are sending a message to the mayor. I wish that there was more that we could do to weigh in, but technically we can't. But I will go on record and say, I agree with you. I want to see Court Square restored to the way it was for a number of different reasons, including traffic, including access to buildings. And I also want to just mention, because I love history, historically in the 1800s and probably in the 1700s before that, the grass was out there. And actually, Town Hall wasn't, that is not the original Town Hall building for for Greenfield. Common space, common grounds were green space so that people could pasture their animals on it. So in the 1800s, when you're talking about grass going all the way up to the Town Hall door, there was also sheep and cows and other animals in a common. That was the whole purpose of it. I don't think we are really in that position at this particular time. And I also think that having the access to the building for so many people is really weighs more heavily in my mind than expanding green space. We do have the energy park. That was quite the endeavor a number of years ago. We should rehabilitate that space. I think we should just leave Court Square the way it is. That would be my vote. But unfortunately, there's very little that I can do except publicly announce how I feel about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Gwynn.
I would like to build off of what Councillor Forgy just said, in that I think the petitioners, and Councillor Jarvis said it before her, I think the petitioners already won, in that it got a conversation to continue in many different directions. It got people talking. I was really happy at the meeting to hear that a lot of the comments that were being made at the public hearing, whether it was attorneys asking about right-of-ways or the public asking about being able to drive and being parked, that MJ was there to say, we're looking at having a limited one-way traffic access. And we've talked to those landowners, because I too think that it was a pilot project. That's what it was. It was designed to show flaw. When flaws are developed in a pilot project, you then look at the project again and say, okay, this worked, this didn't work, this was acceptable, this wasn't acceptable. And at first, I didn't know if that was going to really happen. I have to be honest. I thought, all right, here it goes. They're closing it off and it's gone. And I wasn't happy about that. But I truly believe right now it's been being used for what a pilot is supposed to be done. They're listening to the people, and these 300 people or so are passionate that they want access to City Hall, that they want to be able to get to their church, that they want to be able to get to the funeral home, that they want to be able to get to their dumpsters. I mean, all of that stuff was talked about, and I do believe it's being looked at. This was asking us to restore it to the exact dimensions of January 1st, 2021. And I don't know if that's the answer. One constituent did an amazing job that went out there and counted by the hour how many people were using it, how many people were there. Since her count, they added a food truck. The food truck has changed that count because, and then I went on another tangent because I was worried with a food truck on Court Square, does it hurt our brick and mortar restaurants that are paying property taxes to have a food truck? And, it was really enlightening again, because all the restaurant owners said, we like having them there. It brings more people downtown. Maybe they'll eat there today, but they'll eat here tomorrow. It was a great comment by some of those business owners that said, no, Dan, it's good. It's a good thing. So I believe it was a step in the right direction. I don't think we need to close it off completely. I think we have some great space. The Thomases made some great remarks about the energy park when we first had this conversation, how we built that from nothing in the first administration, mayoral administration of this town, when we took that and they fundraised and they built the band shell and they did a great job, and we're really underutilizing that piece of green space. So I think this project, I can't support this petition because it does have flaws, as pointed out by city attorney, but I do believe it was a step in being heard, and we listened, and I listened, and I'll do my best to keep on top of this. But I truly believe that the city is working on making it a more usable and more utilized piece, and I'm happy to see what happens. But I will have to vote no based on it's not our power to do that. We can only comment personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gwynn. Next, I have Councillor DeStorger and then Councillor Stemple.
I've received more calls and letters on this than, well, almost as much as the fire station. And I wanted to go on record also and say that I agreed with the petitioners from a disability access issue and a safety issue. I think it should be blocked off on the weekends. I think that would be a great compromise. I loved hearing about the bollards. I think that would be a win-win for all the people who needed to go into the town hall during the week, pay bills, for seniors and those who have difficult mobility issues. And having it blocked off on the weekends with the bollards. I think it was Councilor Elmer that brought that up. That's all. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Stemple?
I just wanted to, I mean, I'm not going to backpedal on my support of this project. I've supported it since 2015 when Maureen Pollock was here and working on it with Director Adams. If we want, first I have to say, I don't think downtown's important, but we can't put all of our nuts and bolts in the downtown. And we are working on the ecosystem plan for Greenfield and it's thriving. But what I will say about a downtown and the way of the world is, oh gosh, John Garrett, he spoke so great about just we need more places for people to gather. And I know that folks are going to say, well, we have the energy park and we have this. Each space serves its own purpose. And when we say that we want population downtown, we have sidewalks and we have benches and we have storefronts. We have gathering spaces. I look at Saturday mornings when downtown, the common is blocked off for, excuse me, for the farmers market. I walk with my daughter downtown every Saturday morning and the stores are open. The traffic is there. People are eating outside. People are in Plum. The businesses correlate their open hours to the farmers market. People are moving, going into stores that they might not regularly go into. We need to bring gatherings so our businesses are supported, bringing people there. And for those who are sitting there and counting the amount of people who are coming, the one advice I have for the mayor's office is when you say pilot project, it's a very technical term that might not make sense to those who don't know or understand what that means. And so really what pilot means is like, let's give this a try. We don't want to put all of our eggs into this basket. We don't want to put unnecessary investment, but let's give it a try. And so people are commenting on the type of chairs or where the chairs are and what we're using to block it off. Like this is give it a try. We're gonna paint one spot on the wall to see if we like that shade of green, and if we don't like it, then we didn't paint the whole room. That's what this is. And so let's couple that with the fact that it's a pandemic. There's a lot of people who are just opting not to gather in places. So it's not giving it a fair shake of the stick to say it's all or nothing. I do not support this petition. And it's also rooted in 300 or so people to the population. So 2.5% of people who are not in support of this, to me, doesn't speak to the many people who I get emails from who are in support of this and love that there's a food truck and they're excited and they're like, oh, I never had lunch here before. So yes, on one, let's really think about how we hear the community speak. Because if we don't think about the bigger picture, we're never going to try anything new. And I love the conversation about, I'm rambling on. I promise I'm almost there. But I love the conversation about Greenfield in the 1900s, because if you look at Greenfield, there's like a history book that used to be available. I think it's in Baker Office Supply. Photos of Greenfield throughout the history. And if you notice at Greenfield, at every different, say, decade, there was a new building on Main Street all the time. Could you imagine an entire block of Greenfield being demoed and rebuilt? That is the history of Greenfield. We weren't afraid of change. So this like new era of Greenfield where we can't even imagine blocking off a street and thinking about something differently in that way, it's sad. And so let's continue. I'm excited to continue this try, make further investment as it grows, and see where it goes. But I just encourage people to think about the fabric of our community and looking at the buildings to see what buildings are new, what buildings are old, what used to be there and what's not there anymore, because that's Greenfield. And that's the Greenfield I'm excited to represent and the Greenfield that I love to call home. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Councilor Mayo.
Thank you. I would just like to echo what most of my counselors have already said, is that, and I don't want to go, so there's no need for me to go into a lengthy speech about this, but if I had the opportunity, I would vote in favor of the common going back to the way that it was, because first off, I was a little disappointed. One of the reasons why I was a little disappointed is that for a pilot program to work, they need to bring in more than one truck. I mean, I see one truck out there. Yes, it is a pilot program, but it doesn't. One truck doesn't outweigh the voices of some of the people that have signed the petition that said that it's making it difficult for me to get to my church. It's making it difficult for me to get to the town hall to pay my bills, bills that you asked for and that I would like to pay. So if I had my druthers, I would vote yes in favor of this, but because the lawyer has already weighed in that this is not within our purview, I unfortunately cannot support the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next I have Councilor Dolan.
Yeah, I'll speak on this just briefly, as long as we're sharing personal opinions. And I can't help but speak as a downtown Main Street business owner, as well as a counselor here. I think that one of the saddest things that's happened in Greenfield in the last 100 years is we have taken our beautiful, historic Main Street and we have turned it into what's called a strode. Kind of a road that neither moves people very fast nor is particularly good for pedestrians. Traffic on Main Street is loud. People go fast. The crosswalks are dangerous. I mean, I watch this from my storefront all the time. And all of that noise and all of that danger discourages people from going downtown. So I'm less concerned about this particular project and what happens. But I would really, as a business owner, like Greenfield to invest in pedestrian-centered Main Street. And I thought that this pilot was a really good way of starting to do that. We invest so much of our time and money and resources in car infrastructure, which last I checked only works for people who are wealthy enough to have cars. So we're spending public money constantly to subsidize people's automobiles. And I would like to see less of that. I would like to see us try to create more of a shared space and a pedestrian-centered space in downtown, something I feel very strongly about. So like I said, it doesn't have to be this. But if we want a thriving downtown, that will be a thriving downtown where people walk. And there will be trade-offs for drivers. And at some point, we have to make a decision about what's more important. And I think everybody knows where I stand.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wanted to weigh in on this? The only thing I'll say is, Councilor Forgy, you said sheep as if it was a bad thing, except I got really excited about having a petting zoo downtown, because that's the only thing we don't have in Greenfield. But, okay, that aside.
We had one.
That aside, okay. If no one else has anything productive
Yes,
they'd like to say, like me.
Councilor Hurst.
Yes, please, please.
Yes, I really like the idea of really having more pedestrian access to downtown and less access to trucks and cars. I'm a bicyclist myself, and I really feel that we put too much time and energy into being able to move traffic. I also thought that this was a good shot at really coming up with a possible solution to this area. I really like when the farmers market is there Saturdays, but in the wintertime, it's not there. So I still like the idea that we would give more homage to pedestrians and less to cars. I know that there was a real problem with getting access on the, I guess it's the eastern side, the towards the what do you call it? The train station. That side was difficult to maneuver both in and out. That's one of the difficulties in trying to set this up, and possibly maybe there would have been a better solution. But for the most part, I was in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to weigh in? All right. So, Clerk Scott, if you could remind us, a no vote means that we're not changing the charter, correct? And a yes vote means that we would accept the petition and recommend the charter change. I'm sorry, let me go back to what Councilor Gwynn mentioned earlier. We don't change it, we recommend changes. Could you remind us of what we're voting on?
Sure. So this petition is not requesting a charter change. This petition is requesting that the council maintain the configuration of the Greenfield Town Common abutting the public roadway as it was as January 1st, 2021. So this is not a charter change. It's simply requesting the town council take away the pilot program, in short.
I say thank you so much.
So a yes vote would be to approve the citizens group petition in favor of that. A no vote would be in opposition of that request.
All right, so if everyone's clear, I'm ready for a roll call vote.
A point of order, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. I want to get that last part that you said, Clerk Scott, clear in my mind. If we vote yes, we accept the petition. We vote no, we don't accept the petition. The
We're in
legal
opposition
question
of the petition.
The legal question is,
So can I take this back a step?
Pardon?
Because can I take this back a step? Because I think we went through this in A&O.
Okay, that would be great.
So my recollection, and Councilor Gwynn, please weigh in if you understood this differently than I do. My recollection is that because we got a legal opinion saying that this is under the purview of the mayor, regardless of what we vote, this is not within our jurisdiction. So we can vote yes or we can vote no, but ultimately it's a moot point because the mayor is the one who is going to make that determination. If I am incorrect, somebody please correct me now.
You are absolutely correct.
Thank you. Thank you. So does anybody have any other questions? I know this is really confusing. All right, Clerk Scott, could you please call for a roll call vote?
Councilor Jarvis?
No.
Councilor Gwynn?
No.
Councilor Disorder?
No.
Councilor Bottomley?
No.
Councilor Dolan?
No.
Councilor Mayo?
No.
Councilor Hirschfeld?
No.
Councilor Elmer?
No.
Councilor Forgy?
Yes.
Councilor Stemple Ray?
No.
Does the Vice President wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion is defeated. Vice President Gilmore, if I may, I just want to let the council know that President Ricketts texted me and she will not be returning to the meeting.
Thank you. Is she okay? Did she say?
She is receiving care at this time.
Great. Okay, and hopefully we'll hear from her soon. All right, so next I have presentation of petitions and similar papers. Would any of the committee chairs like to make a report from their committees? All right, seeing none, do we have any unfinished business? Any old business? We do have new business, and this looks like a Councilor Forgy issue.
Okay, it is a first reading, City Council first reading, October 20th, 2021, $115.50 payment of Baker's invoice from fiscal year 22 Human Resources Department budget. Do I have to read the motion, Clerk Scott?
No, you do not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so moving on, motions for reconsideration. Very quickly, I would like to thank you for your patience. I was not expecting to chair the meeting tonight, and I'm really concerned about President Ricketts, so I'm sorry that I was a little flustered in the beginning, and I appreciate you letting me get my feet under me. And on that note, I will entertain. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Jarvis, please.
Yeah, I just wanted under new business, not really new business. Can I request that Clerk Scott, please give me a landline right after the meeting? It's vitally important.
I will, thank you.
All right, does anybody else have anything they would like to say before I entertain a motion? In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Elmer.
Second, Jarvis.
Great. I don't think we need a roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Abstain? All right, we are closing this meeting. My clock says it is 10:07. Have a lovely night, everybody. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.